Stardew Valley Expanded. With over 15 million downloads, Stardew Valley Expanded is far and away the most popular expansion mod for Stardew Valley. With an additional 14 giftable villagers, 58 new locations, and a whole bunch of new cutscenes to see, crops to grow, and items to collect, it's almost like playing a brand new game. In this video, I will complete every quest, cook every recipe, and catch every fish until I achieve perfection in 100% Stardew Valley Expanded. With that being said, this video is a compilation of 3 other videos on my channel. So when I reference comments in this video, it's these 3 videos I'm referring to. In case you want to watch all of those individually, all of them will be linked in the description. Alright, there's a mountain of tasks for me to complete, so we're gonna get right into it, after a word from this video's sponsor, me. I'm sure all of you will be happy to hear that this video won't have a single mid-roll ad in it. So if you're watching this before bed and end up falling asleep thanks to the velvety dulcet tones of my voice, you won't be woken up by an obnoxiously loud advertisement peddling some garbage AI brain rot mobile game. All I ask in advance is for you to do a couple of things that help out my channel. If you could subscribe and enable notifications, that would be awesome. Less than 7% of people who watch my videos actually subscribe, so you'd be putting yourself in some pretty rarefied air if you do. Putting your cursor over that thumbs up button and liking the video would also be amazing. Helping out with those engagement metrics will recommend this video to other people, which does wonders. And who knows, if this video gets a crazy amount of likes, let's say 20,000? I'll do a mega modded 100% series. And finally, if you could leave a comment letting me know what you call this beverage right here, and what your favorite flavor is and why, that would be great. Personally, I call it soda, and my favorite type of soda is root beer, because original root beer was made using sassafras, and I just really love the way that sound rolls off my tongue. Sassafras. Alright, personal advertisement over, let's 100% Stardew Valley Expanded. I start my Stardew Valley Expanded journey on day 1 with Robin, checking out my new digs and introducing myself to Lewis, the town mayor. I spent the morning reorganizing my house to be as efficient as possible, then collected my 15 free parsnip seeds and got those planted and watered. I introduced myself to Harvey and his mustache, and then spent my life savings on more parsnip seeds at Pierre's. After getting those sowed into the field, I met Andy, the first of 27 brand new villagers added into the valley with the expanded mod. Judging by his house, he seems to have 3 hobbies: sleeping, eating, and working. He's just like me, for real for real. I continued exploring the new expanded locations as the sun went down and introduced myself to Sophia at the Blue Moon Vineyard, then had a chat with everyone's favorite blacksmith, Clint. One terrible game of Prairie King later, I ended day 1 by passing out at the farmstead trying to clear off more land. I got some letters from Linus and Willie the morning of day 2, but what's most important to me is getting these parsnips grown ASAP. I continued from where I left off from last night and chopped some twigs before picking up a free fishing rod from our new friend Willie down at the docks. I then went up to Olivia and Victor's house to introduce myself, but they must have gotten lost in their own mansion since I wasn't able to find them. I had nothing better to do today, so I spent the entire rest of day 2 fishing at the lake before heading off to bed, where I got my first 2 skill level ups in foraging and fishing. Day 3 is always rainy here in Stardew Valley, so without needing to expend any time or energy watering crops, I spent another entire day fishing. I was lucky enough to catch a couple catfish for that sweet fishing XP, but unfortunately I was only able to get level 3 fishing today, leaving some money on the table without the fishing profession. I got some ores from treasure chests while fishing yesterday, so Clint is at my door to start off day 4 with the furnace blueprint. Some of you Stardew speedrunners out there will be happy to know that I finally learned how to animation cancel. So now I'm 5 times more efficient when it comes to watering crops, smashing stones, and chopping wood. Olivia and Victor finally deciphered the labyrinth that is their mega mansion, so I was finally able to introduce myself to these new villagers. Also, Victor has peak video game taste, by the way. Over at the Joja Mart, I introduced myself to Claire, then did some more exploring. I found this abandoned community garden space east of the museum, and I finally introduced myself to every valley dweller by saying hello to Maru to put a cap on day 4. The next couple days were recorded live on Twitch. Twitch.tv/JackDuckGoose, by the way. So please ignore my little overlay on the left side of the screen, as well as any chat messages that might show up. Let's start day 5 by reading a letter from a new villager, Susan, who's trapped at the train station thanks to a nasty landslide. I'll meet her in due time. What is currently occupying my attention are these fresh parsnips ready for harvest. I get those sold to Pierre and reinvested into 35 potato seeds, and got those planted and watered before meeting up with Lewis as we toured the disheveled community center that I plan to get back up and running in less than 95 days. I sold off day 3's catch of fish to Willie, then went and bought even more potato seeds from Pierre and got those all wet. The first skill I want to max out is fishing, so I spent another entire evening fishing down at the lake and passed out in the middle of town to end the day. The wizard sent me some mail requesting my presence at his tower to start day 6, so I harvest a straggler parsnip before drinking a delicious wizardy tonic over at his castle. This wizard brew enabled me to start completing some of the community center bundles, starting with the spring forageables. I got some fish sorted away in the community center as well, before selling off my bundle reward and buying some seed packs I'll need for the spring crops and flower bundles. While attempting to talk to Pierre, I accidentally gave him my kale seed, and here's my live reaction to that blunder. You said it, Live Jack. Anyways, I got everything I needed for the community center planted and watered, then spent the rest of the day at the lake doing some fishing. Andy sent me some free strawberry seeds to start off day 7. I got all my potatoes nice and watered before I introduced myself to another new villager, Martin. I sold yesterday's fishing haul to Willie, bought 53 more potato seeds from Pierre, and got those sowed along with the strawberry seeds Andy gave me this morning. With all these seeds, energy is becoming quite the bottleneck. So I did some foraging for food and found that the traveling merchant is already selling junk. I didn't have any money to buy anything, so I guess it's ideal that she's not selling anything I want now. I finished off day 7 by watering my community center crops and giving Lewis a dandelion for his birthday. On day 8, I came to the realization that watering crops really should give you some farming XP. I mean, I can't even finish my morning chores without dipping into my fish reserves for food. After I got all that watering done, I ran up to Maru to give her a smallmouth bass to complete a request, then went to the mines for the first time and met Marlin, who gifted me a rusty sword. I didn't have any plans to use the rusty sword today. I was essentially forced to fish all evening so that I had some food for tomorrow's chores, and got myself a cool little treasure chest. Ooh, iridium from iridium on day 8. That's crazy, wow. Along with that iridium, I also managed to get level 5 fishing and select the fisher profession. I got my 137 crops watered and chucked a bunch of fish I was hoarding into the shipping bin to start day 9. Another day almost spent entirely just fishing. I'm gonna need as much money as possible before the Egg Festival, and that profit boost you get from selecting the angler profession is my best money-making method right now. Marnie woke me up to start day 10 and implored me to adopt this cat. I accepted her request, and my Twitch chat named the cat Quizno. After a very exciting crop watering session, I ran over to the museum to give Vincent a daffodil birthday present and deposited my first donations to Gunther. Shearwater Bridge, just east of JojaMart, is a new location with some new fish that are a little too tough for me to catch right now. So I admitted defeat and finished my day off at the old reliable lake fishing spot. I had a good fortune rating for day 11, so I got my potatoes harvested and watered the remaining crops, then did my first run in the mines, progressing as far as floor 15 and getting a good amount of coal and copper. I crafted my first ever furnace and got some copper smelting before hitting the hay and seeing level ups in farming, mining, and combat. Another sunny day means more crop watering for me, but I start day 12 in earnest at the museum, dropping off some loot I got from yesterday's mining session. I grabbed some salads from Gus at the saloon and went back down to do another run in the mines. These little swirly maps always seem to happen right before an elevator floor, so unfortunately, I only made it down 5 levels today. Obviously, I did my math wrong since I had potatoes to harvest on day 13. Unfortunately, these starchy boys won't help me in my quest of buying the max amount of strawberry seeds at the Egg Festival, of which I was only able to purchase 140 seeds. While I was there, I made sure to chat to everyone in attendance to help with that friendship, and then I participated in the egg hunt, where I was defeated by the dynamic duo of Jazz and Vincent. Which is totally unfair, by the way. It's not an even playing field. They have double the manpower. Alas, my petition to strip them of the victory was denied, and I was forced to head back home to plant and water as many strawberry seeds as I could. I got through about 100 of them before eventually passing out. One positive that did come out of this day was reaching level 5 farming, where I selected the tiller profession. I picked up my first Queen of Sauce recipe on day 14, watered my budding strawberries, and then gave Haley a birthday gift before doing some fishing down at the beach. The investment in all those strawberry seeds left me flat broke, so I'm gonna need to do a lot of fishing to recoup those funds. Demetrius woke me up on day 15 asking to take control of my cavern. Since I went with fruit trees last playthrough, I decided to mix it up and go with mushrooms this time around. I got all of my strawberries watered, then made my first massive quality of life purchase, 2000 G towards the upgraded rucksack. I grabbed a green bean seed for the community center, and then made another large purchase by dropping off my axe with Clint for the copper upgrade. I then scampered down into the mines where I found my first ancient seed. It took me a while to realize it, so here's my live reaction. Ancient seed, let's go! When did I get that? You got it like 2 floors ago, you oblivious idiot. Anyways, today was a pretty good day for mining. I made it down 20 floors and got myself a slingshot to end the day. As I wait for my axe to be ready, day 16 is pretty bland. I did all of my morning chores, caught some fish for food, collected my ancient fruit seed and recipe at the museum, completed a request for my friend Demetrius, and then finished the day off by getting to floor 45 in the mines. I did get my level up in fishing and combat though, which is pretty nice. My strawberries are quickly coming in, but the highlight of day 17 is my copper axe being ready. I completed a request for 1 dandelion for Leia, and then put my new axe to use by clearing off some of the trees on the farm. To finish the day off, I assured Linus that his trash can digging habit is nothing to worry about. I do it too. I grabbed some carrot seeds from the prize machine in Lewis's house, and then collected Robin's axe in the forest. The RNG gods have finally blessed me with rain on day 18. So I utilized the moisture in the air and planted those carrot seeds I got last night before dropping off my pickaxe with Clint for the copper upgrade. I did some fishing and grabbed the shad and eel, both of which are only available to be found in rainy conditions, and got the crab pot bundle completed, unlocking the boiler room bundles. I dropped off a couple of watery boys for the ocean and riverfish bundle, then refreshed floor 41 in the mines to farm some coal via dust sprites since I didn't have my pickaxe. I put a cap on this day by dropping off some ingots for the blacksmith's bundle and finishing off the geologist's bundle. Day 19 is super short. I watered my strawberries, returned Robin's axe, did some fishing for a request, and collected my first hardwood of the playthrough by chopping these massive stumps. Another downpour of rain highlights day 20, so no watering for me this morning. Instead, I grabbed my copper pickaxe from Clint, then accepted a request from the man in question for 15 iron ore. I got those iron ore collected, made it down to floor 50, then realized my current steel sword wasn't cutting it. So I purchased a pirate sword from Marlin at the Adventurers Guild. Once again, I got a spiral map, 1 floor away from an elevator checkpoint, and didn't have enough luck or time to get a staircase, so I had to admit defeat and run back to the ladder to end the day. After 8 days of watering, a majority of my strawberries are ready for harvest to start day 21. I grabbed the radish salad recipe from the Queen of Sauce, then ran into Leia at the community garden. I thought my live reaction to this next sequence of events was pretty funny, so here it is. Here's a fresh green bean. Let's go, huge. Wait, I ate it? Why am I eating it? You could have used that for the community center, you dumbass. You absolute buffoon. I can't believe you would do that. Oh wait, never mind, we still have it. So with a fresh green bean from Leia, I completed the spring crops bundle and unlocked the vault bundles. I ran by the museum and donated some gems, fished up some anchovies as requested by our friend Gus, and then finally made it down to floor 60 of the mines and got myself a crystal dagger. As I went to bed to call it a day, I got the all-important level 6 in farming, unlocking the quality sprinklers recipe, which will come in handy for those summer crops. It seems the weather is trading off sunny and rainy, so another rainy day greets me on day 22 as the second chunk of strawberries are ready for harvest. Clint had a request open for 20 copper ore, so I accepted that, then ran down to his place of business to upgrade my axe to steel. I saw Morris shilling his coupons at Pierre's, but gave my friend a morale boost by purchasing the deluxe rucksack for 10,000 G. I did a run in the mines to get the copper for Clint's request, and even found myself my first skill book of this playthrough, the Monster Compendium. I finished the day off by getting all the way down to floor 70 of the mines and picking up the Master Slingshot. On day 23, I got all my crops watered and then fulfilled Clint's request for 20 copper ore. I took the rewarded prize ticket and put it in the helpers bundle over at the community center, then started a mining session. I found my first diamond today and finally made it to the 80+ floors so I could start mining some gold. That prize ticket I got today from Clint was my second I collected, so I finished off the day by watching Mr. Key parachute down some mystery boxes, which can now be found throughout the valley. I've got some good fortune on day 24, but that sentiment is only ironic since it's the flower dance today. So the only lucky part of this day is that I can pick up the rare crow and tub of flowers recipe. As is customary, I made sure to talk to every single attendant at the festival before watching from the nosebleeds, like I always do. Day 25 is another strawberry harvest, so that's good for the old bank account. What isn't great for my wallet, however, is the bookseller being in town. Fortunately for me, his wares are a little too expensive this early in, so I had to be content with only picking up the price catalog today. Clint processed my axe yesterday, but the festival overlap meant I had to wait until today to grab it. While I was at it, I picked up an iridium fishing rod down at Willie's shop and put it to use over at Shearwater Bridge. After a tough fight, I was able to successfully catch a new fishy friend, the butterfish. That evening, I finished up the blacksmith bundle and hit the hay, where I achieved level 8 farming, getting myself the infamous keg crafting recipe. Another round of strawberry harvesting is how I start day 26, and then I put my new axe through its paces by chopping down some of these massive wood logs. With the steel axe, I now have access to the revamped secret woods, which contain a free rare seed and leads to an expanded forest area containing this overgrown abandoned vineyard. It's pretty run down, but I did get a free ancient doll out of it. P.S. I totally didn't get lost here. I hit up the traveling merchant who is selling an apple sapling today. Since I have 3 apples I need to get for the fodder bundle, I made sure to plant it ASAP to finish off the day and pick up level 4 foraging. I start off day 27 by chopping down more large stumps and purchasing a pomegranate sapling from Pierre. I get that planted for the Enchanter's bundle, then run up to Robin's workshop to purchase my first farm building, the stable. I hit up the mines to farm some gold and then spent the evening completing a couple of quests for Clint and Caroline, who both requested fish. Day 28 in the final day of spring is a lucky one, so I pretty much spent the entire day mining trying to get to floor 120. I was quickly running out of energy on floor 94 when this happened. I do not have enough energy to do it. Oh, that's crazy. Yes, sir, with the last possible swing of my pickaxe, I found a staircase. Very crazy indeed. The last action of this first season was picking up level 5 mining and selecting the miner profession. Automation is the name of the game to start summer and day 29. I collected some gold bars I had smelting and crafted a handful of quality sprinklers, then got those placed down before running into Demetrius at the fountain, where he yapped about Stardew Valley history for far too long. I then purchased everything I need for the summer crops and flower bundle at the community center, along with a bunch of melons, and got those sowed and watered. I 100% did not notice that the stable was built this morning, so I had my Twitch chat name my horse, and her name is Brownie. I then spent the remainder of this day fishing, trying to get a rainbow trout to no avail. I spent the morning of day 30 clearing off some farm debris, buying some more blueberry seeds, and then did some more fishing, where I not only caught a Dorado, but another skill book, the Jewels of the Sea. I spent the evening planting and watering those new blueberry seeds, and then hit the hay. I selected the Gatherer profession for my level 5 foraging upgrade, along with picking up level 8 fishing. Remember that lady who sent us some mail saying that she was stuck behind the train station? Well, that was Susan, who owns the Emerald Farm next to the spa. Now that the landslide has been cleared up, she woke me up to introduce herself on day 31. That morning, I got my favorite quest in the game, recovering Lewis's underwear, and then watered some blueberries. I've been hoarding some gems, so I finally decided to drive by the museum and get those donated, before running down to the docks to catch some fish for the ocean bundle. I ran into Lewis and Morris having a domestic in front of Joja Mart, before checking on my mushroom cave for the first time. To finish the day off, I completed a request from Sebastian for a single ruby. The morning of day 32, I ran into Willie near the woods as he was showing off his king salmon he caught earlier. That afternoon, I ran into Vincent and Jas playing by the sewer grate, gave Jas a daffodil birthday present, and then finally repaired the bridge at the beach so that I could do some foraging at the tide pools. And one more time, I was one level away from an elevator and got a swirl map, forcing me to abandon my session so I didn't pass out in the mines. I did get level 5 combat and took the fighter profession though, so I guess it wasn't a total loss. I got my blueberries watered, then went over to the train station to catch some falling stones to start day 33. I earmarked this day to complete the lake fish bundle. But before I get that sturgeon, I got myself a carp and a treasure chest with a diamond and a topaz ring, which is pretty sweet. Of course, I eventually catch that sturgeon I needed before completing a request from George for an amethyst. I finished 2 bundles today, the aforementioned lake fish bundle, and I also got the summer forageables bundle done and dusted. I traded that summer seed reward for some more blueberry seeds, then went back into the mines where I got myself a cool little squire's helmet before finally making it down to floor 100 and collecting my first star drop of the playthrough. I started off day 34 by planting those blueberry seeds I got yesterday, then accepted a request from Robin for 25 pieces of stone. But before I hit the mines, I wanted to buy even more blueberry seeds. I eventually got all that stone that Robin required and completed the request before running back to the farm to fix my seed layout because I just noticed it's off by the smallest margin. One blueberry had to be sacrificed, but perfect symmetry is worth it. I then finished the day off by making a couple more quality sprinklers and getting them placed down in the field. That theme continues into day 35, where I collected the bars needed to make even more sprinklers. I got some ripe crops harvested, caught a pufferfish down at the docks, and then went back into the mines where I, once again, had to abandon my session 1 floor above an elevator to end the day. On day 36, I decided enough is enough with these mines. I watered my crops and planted some summer squash, caught some fish to use as food, and went down to the mines where I finally made it all the way to floor 120 and collected the skull key. That's all I did today. That was what I wanted to do, and I just went to bed. I decided to expand my farming space on day 37, and here's a check-in about where I stand on these levels. Level 8 in farming and fishing is encouraging, but I'm more worried about getting level 10 combat and foraging before these 100 days are up. I caught some fish down at the beach and sold them off to Willie to finance even more blueberry seeds that I got placed on the farm. Then it's back down to the mines to farm dust sprites for coal to end the day. I got some mail from Lewis to start day 38, letting me know that the luau is tomorrow. But right now, I need to keep expanding the quality sprinkler automation. I pretty much used all of this day farming foraging XP, collecting wood, and cleaning up the farm. All that chopping got me to level 6 foraging, rewarding me with another important crafting recipe, the lightning rod. I spent the morning of day 39 harvesting crops and fishing before the luau. I needed a gold quality sturgeon to put in the soup to get the unforgettable soup achievement. And as soon as I got that, I hightailed it down to the beach. Obviously, I did my due diligence and did some small talk with every villager attending before placing my catch of the day in the pot and watching as the governor praised the delicious concoction. I was checking the weather to start day 40, and to my surprise, the valley is finally going to experience some thunderstorms tomorrow. So the first thing I did was craft a couple of lightning rods and get them placed next to my house. I then spent the morning further expanding my quality sprinkler space and gave Dusty some pets before purchasing a handful of melon seeds from Pierre. Up at the community center, I made some progress towards completing the summer crops bundle, and then planted my newly purchased melon seeds. I then decided to finish the day off by doing some dust sprite and iron ore farming, where I got myself a mining monthly drop, which was an easy decision to read. My first crop of melons are ready to harvest to start off a dreary day 41, and I spent the morning chopping down more trees for foraging XP. Down at the beach, I unearthed the 𝐷𝐷𝐵 skill book, and the +1 defense will really help me out in the mines. But my goal today was to catch the crimson fish, which did not go as planned. At least I got the red snapper and was able to complete the ocean fish bundle. I then spent all night at the dock looking for that crimson fish, but had to utilize a farm warp totem as it had gotten too late to get back home. I got back-to-back rainy days on day 42, but more importantly, I was able to collect 2 battery packs from the storm yesterday. I harvested my first round of blueberries and then beelined it to the community center to complete the engineer's bundle, totally repairing the boiler room. While I was there, I also completed the summer crops bundle. With wind in my sails, I ran over to Clint's shop and put in for the steel pickaxe upgrade and repopulated my farm with melon seeds. That evening, I was finally able to successfully catch my first ever legendary fish, the crimson fish, before calling it a day and watching the Junimo babies repair the town minecart. As I went to check the weather to start day 43, it would appear that we are getting some green rain tomorrow, So it was finally time to prepare some pathing, not only to make the farm look nice, but also to fully utilize the tree growing power of the green rain. That afternoon, I sold off some stockpiled crops, purchased more melon seeds, and further expanded my farm space south to the newly erected tree farm. I then took my first ever ride on the newly refurbished minecarts and did some fishing at the lake to finish the day. As you can see, planting those trees yesterday was a stroke of genius, as almost half of my oak trees are now fully grown to start day 44. Most of the day, though, was spent hacking down all these grass monsters to get mixed seeds, fiber, and moss. Of course, I went down to the saloon to check in on all of the townsfolk before completing the forest bundle at the community center. I harvested my first ever star fruit, got some foraging XP and hardwood in the secret woods, and finished the day off by getting level 7 foraging. Day 45 starts by harvesting some ripe blueberries and getting them tossed into the shipping bin before crafting a handful of tappers and getting those plopped into the oak trees. I picked up my steel pickaxe from Clint, then ran over to the community center to complete the garden bundle. Back on the farm, I can finally remove these pesky mega rocks, but it looks like I'll need another upgrade until I'm able to see what this building is. I spent the remainder of this day down in the mines farming slimes for combat XP and gold for mining XP. I'm placing some more scarecrows to start day 46 as I noticed that a couple of my crops have disappeared. My plan today was to buy a silo, so I got some copper in the mines, smelted it up real quick, and ran down to Robin's, but of course, she wasn't working today. So I completed a quest by giving Penny an iron bar, caught some fish over at Shearwater Bridge, and purchased a couple of vault bundles at the community center. To finish off the day, I destroyed the boulder by Jojo Mart and picked up another skill book, the Alleyway Buffet. Another crop of blueberries are ready for harvest on day 47, and the first thing I did today was wait patiently outside Robin's house and purchase myself a silo to start my ranching journey. With a steel pickaxe, I now have the ability to visit the dwarf, but without all 4 dwarf scrolls, he just speaks gibberish to my ears. The only scroll I need left is number 4, so I spent pretty much all day in the 80+ floors of the mines farming monsters to try and snag it. When I went to bed, I was greeted with the level 9 farming upgrade, including 2 of the best recipes in the game, the Iridium Sprinkler and Seed Maker. I don't have enough Iridium yet to commit to Iridium Sprinklers, so I start off day 48 by crafting some Seed Makers, then picking up these bloomed flowers. I completed a request for 1 quartz from George, and then spent most of the day in the mines hunting for that dwarf scroll. Fun fact, you actually have a higher chance of finding scrolls while digging than you do from monster drops. Your mileage may vary though, since I didn't find it today. But I did find this bait and bobber book for some easy fishing XP. To put a cap on today, I ran over to the community center and finished off the helpers bundle. I start off day 49 by harvesting some blueberries, and now that my silo is finally built, I can start cutting down all this grass on the farm and get it transformed into hay. Now that I've got a silo full of animal food, I'm gonna need some animals to eat it. So I purchased a coop from Robin, then ran down to Pierre's to give Caroline a flower, since I'm gonna need to steal some of those tea leaves from her eventually. I ended day 49 in the mines, killing some red slimes for a request from Lewis. It's day 50, and I am harvesting more crops before running over to Lewis's house to collect my reward for killing all those slimes. I ran into Clint at the train station, and he needed my help to blow up this giant rock leading to the summit. He's gonna need 20 iridium and 20 coal to do that, but that sounds like a lot of work, and I'd much rather relax and get some fishing XP instead. Another day on the farm means another morning spent harvesting crops. On day 51, I finally decided to crack open all the geodes I was hoarding over at Clint's workshop. I don't know how many gems I was able to donate to the museum, so I'll just say that it was a lot. Today was Victor's birthday, so I gave him some Star Drop tea, and I finally have a bachelor at 3 hearts. After celebrating Victor's birthday, I unearthed another ancient seed in front of Robin's house. And then it's back to the mines, where I finished the day by hunting for that final dwarf scroll. But luck was once again not on my side. Day 52 though is a good luck day, so I quickly checked my mail and got a recipe from Victor, harvested a bunch of melons in the field, and collected some ready oak resin. Today I officially started my kegging empire and got some inaugural blueberries and wheat fermenting. Now that my coop has been completed, I can finally buy some chickens that I named Dwarf the First and Scroll the Third, hoping this naming convention will assist me in my quest. I also purchased the barn and got it placed right next to the coop. I wish I could have used this resin for kegs, but the Brewer's Bundle and Enchanter's Bundle take priority. Speaking of priorities, I took another step towards an Iridium Axe by upgrading my Steel Axe to gold, before gifting Caroline another flower and giving Willie a gold bar birthday present. Another request I had to complete was giving Sam a red mullet, but before I could give it to him, he ran into his room, so I guess I'll just have to end the day staring at a locked door. A nice and rainy blueberry harvest is the perfect way to start day 53, and then I picked up a request for copper ore from Clint. I completed George's hot pepper quest before running into Caroline's sunroom and stealing some tea leaves. Down in the mines, I collected the necessary ore for Clint, and I had no luck trying to get a lava eel, and finished the day off by throwing that tea leaf into a keg. Some juicy melons are ready for plucking on day 54, and that green tea fermented overnight. My ancient seed farm is off to a rousing start in the seed maker, and I finally initiated the Mr. Key questline by throwing a battery in this little box in the tunnel and dropping off a rainbow shell at the train station. I picked up my golden axe at Clint's, and then it's back into the mines where this happened. Oh my god! That's right, I finally got the 4th dwarf scroll. So, to end the day, I went back to my farm and dug out all the pathing I made, since tomorrow I can get the best pathing item in the game. But before that, you know I have to start day 55 by harvesting blueberries. Over at Robin's, I got the second best path recipe, the stepping stone path, and then I dropped off the final scroll at the museum to receive the Dwarven translation guide. Now I can finally get my hands on the weathered floor recipe. The whole reason I was trying to get that scroll in the first place. I literally spent the rest of the day making my farm look nice with the weathered floors and stone stepping paths, and then went to bed, where I was greeted with the 10th and final level in farming, where I selected the artisan profession. Now that my farm is moving in the aesthetic direction I want, I started off day 56, the final day of summer, by chopping down my oak tree farm. I then went down to the traveling merchant to pick up another rare seed, and I pretty much spent the entirety of today doing more beautification on the farm, preparing for that fall crop. I stopped by the community center to throw some stuff into the brewer's bundle, then attended the dance of the moonlight jellies and just vibed out while the best music track in the game played in the background. The first day of autumn, day 57, begins by tilling out every square covered by my sprinklers, then running over to Pierre's to purchase some eggplants and pumpkins. I got all those seeds watered, and by the time I was done, it was pretty late. So I just fished at the river until bed, hoping to catch a tiger trout. The morning of day 58, I acquired some broccoli seeds, then found Robin and Lewis putting up the special orders board. Before I check that out though, I have a couple of items I need to deposit into some bundles. Overnight, I guess a meteor fell on my farm, so I guess I had some good luck seeing that it didn't hit any of my crops. Back at the special orders board, I grabbed the Curious Substance quest from the wizard, and then gave Penny an emerald for her birthday, before watching her partake in some elder abuse. I still had no luck catching a tiger trout today, but I had some wine ready that instantly got thrown into the brewing bundle. I spent the remainder of the day down in the mines hunting ghosts, where I was able to pick up that ectoplasm on the first day I got the quest. My apple tree is full of fruit the morning of day 59, and that maple tree finally matured so I can get it tapped. I stopped at the community center to drop off those 3 apples and wine before completing Linus's request for a single cave carrot. The wizard got his sticky white ectoplasm, but he wouldn't let me play in his basement. The rest of the day was spent fishing. I caught myself the legendary anglerfish, failed to catch a tiger trout once again, made a brief stop at Lewis's house to get some more Stardrop tea, and then finished the day by fishing up a super cucumber by the docks. My reward for finding that ectoplasm for the wizard came via the mailbox on day 60, the mini obelisk recipe. After spending way too much time fishing, I finally got that tiger trout and finished the river fish bundle. Now I can get started on the legendary fish, starting with this here lava eel that instantly gets deposited. But don't worry, the fishing doesn't end there. After a quick break replanting my oak tree farm, I went and caught the walleye, the final fish needed for the night fishing bundle. I also finished the fall foraging bundle to put a cap on day 60. To start off day 61, I expanded my farm area further south, and it might look ugly right now, but it'll all come together eventually. I expanded my path further north towards mountains and purchased the 10,000 G bundle at the vault. To finish the day off, I gave Elliot some Stardrop tea for his birthday. On day 62, I finally decided to deposit the ancient fruit I grew into the rare crops bundle instead of throwing it into the seed maker. I stopped by Pierre's to get more pumpkin seeds to plant in my expanded farm section, and then spent the remainder of the day farming XP, starting with foraging in the forest, and then finishing down by the docks with fishing. I collected some eggs and said hello to Dwarf and Scroll the morning of day 63, then finally finished the vault room at the community center by paying for the 25,000 G bundle. Since I was already splashing cash today, I decided to upgrade my coop at Robin's, then went down to the mines to farm levels for mining and combat. To finish the day off, I started my jade farm by tossing the gem into my 25,000 G crystallarium, and as I slept, the Junimo friends became certified mechanics and repaired the bus for me and opened up the route to the Calico Desert. Cranberries are ready for harvest on day 64, as well as the final amount of wheat I needed for the community center. I decided to spend this rainy morning doing some beautification. This little stone section will eventually become my artisan goods assembly line, so I might as well throw my furnaces down here for the time being. Today is Claire's birthday, so I gifted her a sunflower, and then took my first ever trip to Calico Desert, thanks to Pam the bus driver. I guess the developers were inspired by a very tangible design element when naming the Stardew Valley Expanded mod, because this desert goes 4 miles. I'm not complaining though, this will be the perfect place for my wood farm. I inserted the skull key into the scary door and took my first step into the skull cavern, quickly realizing that I was not prepared for this and promptly turned tail and ran. While I was in the desert though, I formally introduced myself to Sandy at the Oasis and bought myself beet seeds for the key quest to call it a day. I started day 65 by smelting some gold, then expanded my assembly line so that I could include the kegs and preserve jar. I picked up an iron ore inspection quest from Clint and completed the fodder bundle over at the community center. I went down into the mines to farm some combat XPs and acquire the necessary ore for that previously mentioned request, and then I got it completed by talking to Clint. I took another trip to Calico Desert to acquire some cloth from a mummy and finished the day off by fishing at the desert pond, hoping for a scorpion carp that I realized much later is only able to be caught from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Because I got that cloth yesterday, Emily is at my door to start off day 66, and I can now use her sewing machine. I'm sure I'll do that eventually, but for now, I need to waste the entire day at the desert pond trying to catch a scorpion carp. All I got though was this lousy sandfish, but at least the furnaces have some gold bars ready for me. To start up day 67, I harvested some eggplants and placed some melons in the kegs and preserves jar. I had just enough money to upgrade my coop to deluxe at Robin's, got all but a single pumpkin donated for the fall crops bundle, then gave Jody a diamond as her birthday gift before accepting Susan's homemade fertilizer quest. That afternoon, I decided to gear up at Willie's, take the bus over to Calico Desert, and finally catch that scorpion carp. With the trap bobber and some deluxe bait, it didn't take as long as I thought it would, so I spent the remainder of my time in the desert planting seeds that would later become my tree farm. Back in Pelican Town, I submitted the scorpion carp to the rare fish bundle and completed the most annoying part of the community center restoration, in my opinion, the fish tank. That evening, I caught a midnight carp for a request, which maxed out my fishing level, and I ended the day by selecting the angler profession, allowing the Junimos to destroy this little rock near the lake. My maple tree has finally delivered the maple syrup I've been looking for, so I can finally cut it down to start day 68. With that maple syrup, I crafted my first bee house, expanded my assembly section, and got that bee house placed before reading a mining monthly book I found digging up artifact spots. Since those Junimos broke that rock last night, panning spots are now available throughout the valley, so Willie gifted me a copper panner. I ran into Victor down at Shearwater Bridge and listened to him nerd out about the architecture and physics of bridges, but what I really came here to do was fish. This legendary expanded fish was a little too tough for me, so I went down to the saloon to drink away my sorrows, where I ran into Claire and offered to pay for her meal for the evening. To finish the day off, I completed Leah's request for that midnight carp I got last night, and then threw some more tappers on some oak trees, and did my first ever panning session. So I hope you guys are ready for panning with... No, that's copyrighted. I can't do that. I can't do that. On day 69, I got another round of cranberries harvested and sold off, before checking the brand new deluxe coop Robin just completed. The amount of animals I have is only going to increase, so I bought another silo and ran down to Willie's shop to get the best bobber in the game. Back on the farm, I collected all my readied bars of steel and iridium, crafted all the quality fertilizer needed to complete Susan's quest, and spent the remainder of the day farming wood and foraging XP in the forest. I had a max luck day, as shown by this brand new Fortune TV channel graphic on day 70. So I quickly harvested all my newly ripe pumpkins, hit up Pierre's to refresh on seeds, get all those planted on the farm, and then sprinted over to the community center to finish the fall crops bundle. I bought my first rabbit today, and his God-given name is Stinker. Please refer to him as such. I picked up Linus's berry basket, completed Jody's request for a single cauliflower, then returned the basket to our nomadic friend before spending the evening in the secret woods farming foraging XP by collecting hardwood and grabbing new mushrooms, like this Rafflesia mushroom. I don't know how to pronounce that. I did my best. I may not have gotten that foraging level up I wanted, but killing some slimes did get me to level 8 combat, and I got a decent cash infusion thanks to those sold pumpkins. The morning of day 71, Jody woke me up and asked me to come over to her house for dinner with a large-mouthed bass. While I caught this carp, I found myself an ancient doll in a treasure chest, but I did eventually catch that bass that Jody wanted. But that ancient doll gave me an idea. I've been having trouble in the Skull Cavern, and a new feature in Stardew 1.6 allows you to sacrifice an ancient doll at floor 100 for the faraway stone. You can then take that stone and give it to a statue in the wizard's basement and get a pretty good sword. But it looks like I don't have enough friendship with the wizard to do that exchange, so I guess it's back to the drawing board when it comes to a new weapon. Over at Clint's, I put in for the gold pickaxe upgrade, and then picked up the infamous prismatic jelly quest, which will be a little difficult provided I just lost my pickaxe for 3 days. But I will not be deterred. I went down to the mines and refreshed floor 41 over and over again, but no dice today. Day 72 is the Harvest Festival, so I got all my rarest items loaded up, harvested some ripe eggplants, and then spent the morning clearing out all the normal grass on the farm so that the rarer bluegrass can grow since it's better for animal friendship. Over at the town square, I got my booth set up and received the first place ribbon and all the stars that come with it. After doing some very successful gambling, I had enough stars to purchase the star drop to permanently increase my energy. After playing some lights out target slingshot and doing even more gambling, I had enough stars to get the rare crow and extra prize ticket to end the day. By the way, if you're ever doing gambling and you're new to Stardew, always bet your money on green. I think there's like a 2.5 times more likely chance to hit green than orange. So yeah, just a little pro tip there. I started day 73 by placing some pumpkins in my newly crafted preserve jars, then ran down to Clint's to pick up my golden pickaxe. With this, I can finally knock down those asteroids and clean up this newly accessible section of the farm, equipped with a money tree that is totally not the same money tree from Animal Crossing. I went inside the dilapidated house, and it's totally destroyed, so I just decided to leave it and search for that super rare prismatic slime, but of course, it finds a way to escape my grasp once again. The morning of day 74, Robin stops by and asks to inspect my newly reachable shed. She says she can get it fixed up, and we'll talk specifics later, but for now, I got some cranberries to harvest. As I was going to buy some more animals, Marnie decided to not sell anything today, and an invisible friendship force field kept me from making my way into her bedroom, even though the door is wide open. On the bright side, I was able to find and dispatch the prismatic slime and provide the wizard with his juices to complete that quest. Before going to bed, I restocked the furnaces with ore and picked up the penultimate level in mining. Marnie was at my door the first thing on day 75 asking for a cave carrot. But before I can do that, I've got to check out the mail where the all-important Monster Musk recipe is waiting for me, along with a couple other messages and requests. I got all my pumpkins harvested, gave one of them to Caroline, and then dropped in the final item needed to complete the brewer's bundle and restore the pantry to its former glory. While doing some foraging, I found Jas lost in the forest, so I helped her find her way home since I was going there anyways to deliver Marnie the cave carrot she requested. I guess that's all that Marnie needed to let me into her inner sanctum and collect Lewis's underwear. At the traveling merchant, I grabbed the snowman rare crow, which will become important later, and then stopped by Robin's to get a quote on restoring that old shed. 150 hardwood, 600 stone, 50 iron bars, and 20 battery packs is a steep price. So we're gonna put that on the back burner. For now, I'm just going to buy the big chest recipe. But I also saw that the expanded mod adds another coop upgrade. So I guess I'm gonna have to get that too at some point. I gave Evelyn an iron bar to complete one of her requests, and utilized the prize ticket reward to grab myself one of the best skill books in the game, Friendship 101, which will give me an extra 10% friendship gain to every villager. Back on the farm, I crafted a couple of big chests to replace my current small ones. Pro tip though, you can just plop these big ones on top of the small ones to entirely replace the items inside. That evening, I got schwasty with Elliot down at the saloon, told Lewis where I found his underwear in front of almost everyone in town, replaced some more small chests with big chests, and chopped a whole bunch of trees just north of my house to farm some wood and forging XP. While I slept, the Junimos repaired the greenhouse and kicked out a raccoon living there. True to the name Stardew Valley Expanded, I found that the greenhouse has received a generous increase in space to start day 76. So it looks like I'll have plenty of growing space for these ancient seeds I'm planting. There's thunderstorms in the forecast tomorrow, so I crafted and slapped down a handful of lightning rods, then made my way to the Calico Desert to purchase some starfruit seeds from Sandy. I finally got those beet seeds I bought a while ago planted in the main crop field, along with my recently purchased starfruit seeds in the greenhouse, which I had moved to be closer to my house. I spent the remainder of the day in the forest, chopping trees for wood and XP, which bore fruit in the form of level 9 foraging. I got some ripe eggplant to harvest on day 77, then it's over to the Secret Woods to get some hardwood, one piece of which is earmarked as a birthday gift for Robin. I ran up to the Adventurers Guild to grab the Mapping Cave Systems book and check in on my Monster Slayer goals. I noticed I needed to kill 1 cave bug, so I did that, and then completed a request to kill 6 red slimes from Lewis. That pretty much took all evening, so I ended the day by getting some copper bars queued up for tomorrow. My sweet gem berries were ripe to start day 78, so I got those plucked, collected the various ores, battery packs, and artisan goods that were ready and waiting, and replanted some more rare seeds in the greenhouse, before making my way down to Old Master Cannoli to collect my 3rd star drop. After talking to Lewis to complete that Red Slime Slayer request, I ran up to the bookseller to purchase 2 books, the Horse Book and Old Slitherlegs, for a combined 50,000 G. I've been hoarding a lot of geodes, so I decided to crack them all open with the help of Clint and donate them to the museum to help out my friend Gunther. For those of you keeping track, I only have 12 more gems to go, which is pretty good, in my opinion. Additionally, I went back to Clint's to break open some mystery boxes and got the Book of Mysteries, which should really help getting more boxes. To finish off the day, I went over to Calico Desert to expand my tree farm, but the only noteworthy thing that happened in my Skull Cavern run was getting this little ancient seed. Gunther woke me up on day 79 to let me know that the Secretary of Artifacts is going to honor the museum with the Golden Shovel Award. Golden Shovel or not, I have some farming chores to do that include collecting some ready-made artisan goods, harvesting the ripe cranberries, expanding my kegging enterprise, and planting that ancient fruit seed I found yesterday. As I was doing some foraging, I found a massive tree stump in the forest and paid the 100 hardwood required to transform it to a comfy little shire house. That afternoon, I saw Marlin sneak down into the sewer to do God knows what with the town's waste, and then picked up the Biome Balance quest from Demetrius. I donated some dinosaur bones I collected yesterday, then accepted another fishing request. So we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone by finishing the day with all this fishing. As I was checking the mail to start day 80, I got 40,000 G courtesy of Gunther for the Golden Shovel Award. I guess it pays to hoard all those gems and artifacts. That morning, I got some melons placed in the kegs and preserve jars, slapped some more tabards on the oak trees, and ran up to the train station to catch some flying wood. I accepted another ore inspection quest from Clint before giving George a leek for his birthday. With all that extra money burning a hole in my pocket, I ran over to Marty's to purchase 2 cows named Bessie and Messy, a rabbit named Winker, and 2 ducks named Goose and Duck. I stopped in to check on and pet my brand new animals, collected some ready iridium bars, and finished the day off at the docks, completing Demetrius' quests and catching the 2 albacore I needed to complete Willie's quest. I started day 81 in the mines, collecting copper to complete yet another request, this time for Clint. I dropped off my pickaxe to get upgraded to iridium, and then talked to the bearded blacksmith to complete that previously mentioned request. With the resulting prize ticket, I got a new hat, so you know I had to equip it, before cleaning out my almost never visited mushroom cave. I spent the remainder of the day chopping stumps for hardwood and exploring the forest where I found an ancient sword. Evelyn was at my door to start day 82 as she gifted me a garden pot. I got all of my newly ripe crops plucked, said hello to all of my birds and rabbits, then dropped off some amaranth to complete a request from Marnie. While I was there, I purchased some supplies for the incoming winter, then got myself a rabbit's foot from the traveling merchant, which goes straight into the enchanter's bundle. I put a lid on day 82 by farming more wood and foraging XP at the lake. My final harvest of pumpkins kickstarts day 83. I get those jammed in the preserve jars before expanding my ancient fruit farm in the greenhouse. Since today is the Spears Eve festival, Much like last night, I spent most of the day just farming wood and foraging XP while I waited for the festival to get set up. I did get myself a farming skill book for my treble, which will be saved for mastery XP gains since I've already got level 10 farming. At the festival, I picked up the jack-o'-lantern recipe, the witch rare crow, and a single jack-o'-lantern before completing the maze and collecting my golden pumpkin. I've got one final harvest of cranberries to start day 84, the final day of autumn. I got the jack-o'-lantern donated to complete the Spirit's Eve bundle and accepted another ore inspection request from Clint. I swear, once I finish the do 40 requests achievement, I'm not taking these anymore. I went over to the very same blacksmith to pick up my iridium pickaxe, killed some time by chopping down some trees, and Susan finally came out of her kegging room so that I could give her a birthday gift, some chocolate cake. I collected all the ores I needed to complete Clint's request, and had a couple of drinks with Shane, Pam, and Andy at the saloon, and then tucked myself in for the night. Day 85 in the first day of winter starts in the coop, making sure all my animals are nice and warm in these snowy conditions. I finally finished the keg line in the machine section, then ran down to the special orders board to accept Marlin's mysterious adventure, which is to craft a bunch of bombs. While doing some foraging, I found myself some powdermelon seeds, the only crop you can grow in these frigid conditions, and happened upon some holly in the forest, the final forageable I needed to complete the winter foraging bundle and restore the crafts room to its rightful splendor. Up at the Adventurers Guild, I tossed a couple of bombs into Marlin's chest, and finished the day off by crafting and consuming some monster musk to do some dust sprite farming. While I slept, my Junimo friends repaired the bridge, opening up the kegging quarry. I spent the morning of day 86 crafting all the extra bombs needed to complete Marlin's quest, and then added a coffee section to my greenhouse with all the beans I collected last night. The final item I need to complete the community center is the Nautilus shell. So, while I haven't found it in the first 2 days of winter, I will be returning daily to the beach until I get one. Just in case one of the most astronomically rare things happens and I don't get a Nautilus shell, I started befriending Demetrius since he's known to mail you one from time to time. I completed Marlin's request by depositing all those bombs I made, picked up a lava katana for the Skull Caverns, then started clearing out the kegging quarry by getting rid of every stone, ore, and gem node in a half-mile radius. I spent the evening fishing down at the docks to catch a squid to complete another request, this time for Willie, and the final act of day 86 was to make my unofficial introduction to Krobus and pick up the magnifying glass. I kicked off day 87 by collecting some melon wine and throwing some fertilizer on my oak resin farm since these trees won't grow in this cold weather. I got my first bit of milk from Bessie and Messy in the barn, completed my line of preserves jars, and refilled the jars and kegs with pumpkins before harvesting my star fruits. I hate relying on NPCs to sell seeds. Say that one 5 times fast. I hate relying on NPCs to sell seeds. So I made some seed makers and started my own starfruit seed business. Of course, I won't be selling these seeds. The business comes in the form of cutting out the middleman. I accepted the wizard's request to kill a squid kid, gave Linus a coconut birthday present, then delved into the mines to dispatch the red fire-spitting boy to end the day. That Nautilus shell still eludes me on day 88, but I got some powdermelon seeds to soften the blow. I got those sowed and watered with their brethren before popping down to the wizard tower to complete the request from yesterday and give him a purple mushroom as a gesture of good faith. That afternoon, I saw him LARPing in the forest pretending to control a magic barrier before running over to the museum to deposit some artifacts. Only 15 more artifacts to go until I'm done. I had Pam take me out to the Calico Desert, where I unearthed my first secret note and did a dive into the Skull Cavern. The only highlight of this run was the fact that I was able to actually survive down here until midnight, so that's a big W. I guess I was more successful than I thought, since Mr. Key airmailed me 10,000 G the morning of day 89. But the most exciting moment of today happens down at the beach, where I have finally been blessed with the Nautilus shell. But before I get that deposited in the community center, I purchased and read both of the Way of the Wind books from the bookseller to permanently increase my movement speed. With my newfound speed, I raced over to the community center faster than I've ever galloped before and deposited the Nautilus shell, completing the field research bundle, restoring the bulletin board, and officially renovating the Stardew Valley Community Center to its former glory. As the Junimos wave goodbye, I can put a check mark on my first goal I set out in the beginning of this video, completing the community center. With that being said, there is still so much to do. So I hightail it down to the beach to catch a sea cucumber and give that to Linus to complete a request. While I was at it, I decided to do some more fishing and catch myself another legendary fish, the glacier fish. And to finish off the day, I placed 10 beets into Lewis's fridge to advance the Mr. Key questline and read a very interesting secret note I found foraging in the secret woods. With the bulletin board complete, I got 2 extra hearts of friendship with every non-romanceable NPC in the valley to start day 90. So here's a look at the current heart levels of everyone. Just another reminder, you guys get to pick who we marry. So again, put a comment in the comment section who you want to marry, most comments wins. That morning, I checked on Messy and Bessie and made sure they're fed, plopped some more tappers on the oak tree farm, then went up to the community center to see the grand reopening, where everyone in town is enjoying the rejuvenated facility. Well, everyone except Morse. Pierre could have used his fist to run him out of town, but instead we all chose to gang up on him and hurl verbal insults until he scurried away. Over at George's house, he told me about the time that he got his back blown out in the mines, and then Evelyn and I made him cookies where she taught me her famous recipe. I donated a couple of bones to the museum, then took the bus out to Calico Desert and got a lucky rabbit's foot drop from a serpent. I read some more secret notes I found, gave our decomposed dragon friend a solar essence snack, and ended the day by picking up the level 9 combat upgrade and the level 10 mining upgrade, in which I elected to take the prospector profession. On day 91, Pierre woke me up with the information that he'll have some new seeds starting next year. But what I really want is this club card hidden in my pile of wood. In my mailbox, I got the news that Pierre's will be open 7 days a week. Willie wants me to come down to his shop, and the ice fishing competition is tomorrow. I got some pumpkin juice collected and then ran to town to see the only negative of JojaMart going under. No one told Claire, and she showed up to work in the freezing cold only to find out she's out of a job. Oh, I honestly feel really bad just rewatching this. I'm gonna put all that guilt to the side for now, because I got myself the special charm in exchange for a rabbit's foot from the JojaCo delivery guy, who's probably gonna have to get a new route soon. Over in the forest, a little teleportation circle has been revealed. I warped through, took a couple of looks around, and noped out of there. That sounds like a chore for that sucker Future Jack to deal with. Current Jack is going to pick up this Woodcutter's Weekly book and read it ASAP to get level 10 foraging. Today is Caroline's birthday, so I gave her a fish taco I got from breaking open a couple mystery boxes, then went down to the desert to do another Skull Caverns run, where I finally found myself a prismatic shard. I've only done a couple of runs in the Skull Caverns with my lava katana, but it's already become redundant with the Galaxy Sword now in my hands. RIP Lava Katana, you were a real one. Anyways, it's late, so I warped home and called it a day by opting for the botanist profession with my level 10 foraging upgrade. Some more oak trees have fully matured, so I spent the morning at day 92 getting those tapped. I harvested my first round of powder melons and got them turned into seeds, which subsequently got replanted before picking up Willie's Bug Guts special request. Remember on day 75 when I said this? At the Traveling Merchant, I grabbed the Snowman Rarecrow, which will become important later. Well, that's because I spent way too much time in the mines today, looking for bugs to kill, that I totally forgot that today was the ice fishing competition. The one thing I really wanted from that festival was that Rarecrow, so it's incredibly lucky that I already had one. But with the extra time I have on my hands for not attending the festival, I made my way to the Calico Desert, flashed my newly acquired club card to the bouncer, bought about 1,000 key coins, and did some gambling. I kid you not, I probably spent about 1 hour in real time just hitting the Bet 100 button over and over until I finally got a triple diamond on the slots. That gave me over 100,000 key coins. With that balance, I was able to pick up another Rarecrow and the Statue of Treasure that'll give me a free artifact trove every day. To end the day while I was in the clubhouse, I formally introduced myself to Mr. Key, the man who seems to be the puppet master behind all the goings-on in Stardew Valley. I'm in the greenhouse to kick off day 93, harvesting and replanting coffee beans. As quickly as I left Calico Desert, I am back doing my first Skull Cavern run with my freshly minted Galaxy Sword. It was a pretty decent session today as I got a fair amount of iridium ore, a lucky iridium bar drop, and another prismatic shard, as well as my first ever treasure floor containing some artifact troves. I'd spend more time here if I could, but the 2 a.m. bell tolls for everyone, so I popped a warp totem and ended the day by getting my furnaces stuffed with iridium ore. I retrieved the bars that smelted overnight to start day 94, crafted some monster musk, got myself a rabbit's foot from the coop, Then got all perfumed up and hit the mines, looking for bugs to squash. I spent a couple hours getting some bug meat, ran over to Clint's to put in for my Iridium Axe upgrade, then met up with Marlin and Gil as they turned over all the bombs I crafted to a magic user named Jadu. Marlin was so happy with my bombs that he allowed me to use the Adventurers Guild ledger to buy decorations. And that evening, I had a chat with Linus and Robin, where our disheveled friend thanked me for not trying to change him. I gave Sebastian his rabbit's foot birthday present before heading back into the mines and searching for more bugs to kill. After a quick and squishy session with Linus in his tent, I ended the day by picking up the wild bait recipe and crafting the Iridium Band. I've got another round of pumpkin juice ready for sale to kick off day 95, and then it's over to the greenhouse to increase my coffee bean capacity. I got my kegs topped off with more pumpkins before diving right back into the mines to finish off this godforsaken bug guts request. As I was going to deliver the guts, I ran into Willie having a little crab problem, and Gus and I helped him wrangle the crustaceans, before I finally did what I came here to do, which is drop off these pink morsels. Since tomorrow is the first day of Squid Fest, I crafted a bait maker, then ran up to the Adventurers Guild where Marlin informed me that he is now selling all the other galaxy weapons. He also introduced me to another adventurer, Alicia. I put a cap on day 95 by killing this Dougie to accomplish a Monster Slayer goal, then picked up the final rare crow I needed from the dwarf. I woke up on day 96 to collect my artifact trove, got the deluxe scarecrow recipe in the mail, and also accepted the wizard's request for 1 void essence. Down at the beach, I picked up the quality bobber recipe courtesy of Willie's mountain of sentient bug guts, and spent the morning catching 8 squid to get the Iridium reward for day 1 of Squidfest, which is headlined by the Art O Crabbing skill book. Of course, Clint wasn't at the shop for me to get my axe today, so I used his room for some light reading, if you know what I mean. I then stopped by the museum to give Gunther a pearl for his birthday, and spent the evening completing the wizard's quest for that void essence, thus starting me down the Wizard Inc. questline. I ended my day down at the saloon, finishing off a couple of requests for Susan and Emily. Day 97 begins in the coop, collecting my first feather and checking up on my animals before running over to the greenhouse to further expand my coffee plants. Finally, Clint is actually working, and I can collect my Iridium Axe, checking off the second goal I set out for myself for these first 100 days, having an Iridium Axe and pickaxe. While I knew Clint was actually working, I popped open a couple of geodes and donated my haul of new items to the museum before crushing day 2 of Squidfest and receiving some pretty neat rewards. Clint is still being a pain in my butt though, putting out all of these ore inspection quests, but I got this copper one done and talked to Clint for the 3rd time today to complete it. With the resulting prize ticket, I received and read a copy of Combat Quarterly to end the day. I start off day 98 in the greenhouse, harvesting my ripe starfruits and then getting them turned into seeds, which get replanted. I crafted my deluxe scarecrow and dug up some more artifacts by the bus stop, before running over to the blacksmith to crack open some more mystery boxes, which yielded some pretty great rewards, including another prismatic shard. But the most important moment today came in the secret woods. I was collecting some hardwood and killing some slimes, and I finally reached level 10 combat, checking off the 3rd and final goal I set out to complete in these first 100 days. Reach level 10 in all 5 skills. Day 98 is Harvey's birthday, so I gave my mustachioed friend some coffee, read the Farmer's Almanac book that I've been hoarding, then finished the day off by making some amazing progress on the kegging quarry. It's a quarry. I made progress by knocking down a lot of trees, picking out the rocks, and laying down some stone flooring. While I slept, I also opted for the brute profession with my level 10 combat upgrade. More powder melons are ready for harvest to start day 99, along with a whole bunch of pumpkin juice and pickled bok choy. Outside of the artisan machines like kegs and preserve jars, I think seed makers might be my favorite machine in the game since it's essentially making Pierre useless. I collected some ready resin at my oak tree farm and crafted 15 kegs before helping Sebastian repair his motorcycle. Now that I officially have some kegs down, I can call the quarry a kegging farm without having to correct myself. I accepted Gus's famous omelet special request, then stopped by the Mastery Cave for the first time. Only 100,000 XP until this is complete. I went back home and crafted another 11 kegs, got them placed down on the keg farm, and then ran down to the beach to attend the first day of the night market. I got myself a pearl by entering the correct code at the mermaid show, then went down to the ocean floor to do some fishing. My goal was to catch the octopus, and I even popped my seafoam pudding to get to level 14 fishing. But I couldn't even get one on the line. So I guess I'll have to find some solace in making 20,000 G overnight. It's finally day 100. And of course, we have some powder melons to harvest and even more kegs to craft. I checked in on all my coop animals and picked up a rabbit's foot, then went over to the greenhouse to collect and replant some starfruit. I got my newly crafted kegs placed at the keg farm and killed some time before the night market opened by getting some hardwood. The goal for day 2 of the night market was to catch the octopus once again, and I'm happy to report that the mission was a success, and the bane of my fishing list has been acquired. Honestly, there wasn't too much left to do today, so I relaxed, had a beer with my man Shane down at the saloon, and put a cap on the first 100 days in this expanded Stardew Valley by enjoying the crackling warmth of the fire at the community center. Picking up on day 101, I'm checking the TV to pick up the plum pudding recipe, then it's over to the mailbox to accept a quest from Clint. I said hello to all the animals in the chicken coop, planted some more ancient fruit seeds in the greenhouse, then got some hardwood in the secret woods. I completed Clint's request for a single iron bar, then accepted a request for an earth crystal from Lewis. I took the bus over to the Calico Desert, played a couple hands of blackjack, winning 16,000 key coins, purchased a whole bunch of farm warp totems, then concluded my desert trip by repopulating my wood farm. To finish the day off, I did some drinking with Shane down at the lake, did even more drinking with Magnus at his wizard tower, and then got a new best friend by giving Magnus a purple mushroom for his birthday. To start off day 102, I got a letter from Lewis letting me know that Emily is my secret friend for the Feast of the Winter Star, and I spent the morning planting some more powder melons. I ran over to Magnus's house, where I found him playing with some Junimos. I completed Lewis's request for that earth crystal, then made my way to the blacksmith to start upgrading my pan. I completed another request by catching a couple of perch and relaying my fishing prowess to Willie, before starting off the evening in the secret woods collecting more hardwood. I got some copper smelting on the farm, and dug up a golden carrot seed at the bus stop. The rest of the day was spent in the mines killing a whole bunch of dust sprites with the power of Monster Musk. Day 103 begins in the greenhouse, collecting some coffee beans which I got fermenting in kegs to make go-go juice. I ran up to Robin's to purchase the big barn upgrade, and went to the secret woods to collect the final amount of hardwood I needed to repair Willie's boat. That hardwood, combined with some battery packs and iridium bars, officially unlocks the route to Ginger Island that will be ready tomorrow. With the help of a cookout kit, I made my first foray into cooking by making some sashimi and a roots platter. I then went up to the Adventurers Guild and dug up a new expanded artifact, the Rusty Shield, and then gave Marlon the roots platter that I just made for his birthday. Thanks to that massive friendship boost, Marlon finally has enough trust with me to officially let me meet the best boy in the valley, 𝐕𝗵𝗲, who lives in the sewers. With 𝐕𝗵𝗲's shop now available, I purchased a void egg, along with the 4th star drop of this playthrough. I collected the dark pendant from the bug lair, got that void egg incubating, grabbed a triple shot espresso recipe from Gus at the saloon, and then finished the day off by watching Willie and Robin repair the Ginger Island Express boat. I collected a rabbit's foot in the coop to kick off day 104. I accepted a request for 1 scorpion carp from Shane, then watched Harvey and George do some physical therapy. Today is Evelyn's birthday, so I gave her a delicious beet, then ran over to Clint's to pick up my steel pan and crack open a whole litany of mystery boxes and omni geodes before dropping off the new stuff at the museum. I then christened the Ginger Island Express by taking my inaugural trip to the volcanic island. I collected my first ever golden walnut in the jungle and spent most of the afternoon just running around collecting as many golden walnuts as I could. I did my first ever volcano dungeon and picked up even more golden walnuts, along with a super cool ring that I've never seen before, the Hot Java ring. I made it all the way up to the top of the volcano, where I was greeted by everyone's favorite Stardew Valley Expanded bachelor, Lance. I eventually made my way back down to the base of the volcano and formally introduced myself to the local bird boy, Leo, then decided to call it a day on the island and run back home to go to bed. To start off day 105, Lewis woke me up to inform me of the community day tomorrow, and then Lance stopped by to give me a copy of his schedule. I spent the morning milking Messy and Bessie at the newly expanded barn, then went over to the quarry to get a whole bunch of coffee brewing. I gave Robin some hardwood for her birthday and finally decided to upgrade my house. Speaking of upgrades, I ran over to Clint's to submit my golden pan upgrade, then took the bus over to Calico Desert, where I spent most of the day just searching for that scorpion carp for Shane. I eventually caught it, made my way back to Pelican Town to deliver it to our alcoholic bestie, completed another request from Clint, then used the resulting prize tickets to get some Star Drop tea. I finished the day off by collecting some coffee from the quarry, and reached 5 out of 5 hearts by petting Quizno the cat before bed. I'm in the coop to start day 106, where I collected the final egg needed to complete Gus's special request. I picked up some oak resin from the tree farm, accepted a request from Caroline and a special request from Gunther, then made my way to the quarry to expand my keg farm. The dwarf and Krobus got into a little scuffle in the sewers, and I decided to spend the entirety of this day doing some fishing. I caught a radioactive bass, the mutant carp, a water grub, and finished the session off with a snatcher worm. I've got some starfruit to harvest over in the greenhouse to start day 107. I accepted a request from Linus, then held the first annual Pelican Town Farmers Meetup at Pierre's. I eavesdropped on an argument between Abigail and Caroline, and then completed Caroline's quest for a winter root after their spat was over. I collected my golden pan from Clint, and then had him crack open a bunch of geodes, which yielded a prismatic shard. I donated my haul to the museum, then ran over to the saloon to drop off the 24 eggs Gus needed. I did some woodworking with Leah, then gave her a salad for her birthday, before finally tackling the Junimo Woods. That loser Past Jack was too much of a coward to handle it, so I made my way through the maze and discovered the Junimo vendors. They sell all kinds of rare artifacts, fish, and minerals, but what I'm really here for are the rare fish. I wasn't able to catch the meteor carp today, but I did get a glowfish to put a cap on day 107. I woke up on day 108 to see that Robin has finished my house upgrade. But moving furniture will have to wait, as I got some ancient fruit ready for harvest in the greenhouse. I used the seed makers to expand my ancient fruit stocks, then ran up to the mountain to complete Linus's request, the final request needed to get the Big Help achievement. With that done, I mussed up and delved into floor 70 of the mines, where I completed the Skeleton Monster Slayer goal, got the XP needed to reach the first level of mastery, and collected all of the bone fragments needed to complete Gunther's special request, which pretty much took all day. Day 109 is a festival day, so I spent the morning doing some farm chores and making more coffee at the quarry before supplying Emily with a prismatic shard for the Feast of the Winter Star. This year I had Evelyn as my secret gifter, and I will gladly accept some of Grandma's famous cookies. Before calling it a super short day, I collected all my coffee that brewed while the townsfolk and I were celebrating the festival. My void chicken has finally hatched to start day 110. I named her Shadow, then ran down to the final path cave and selected Farming Mastery as my first perk. I gave Clint an amethyst for his birthday, dropped off 100 bone fragments at the museum, then took a ride over to the Calico Desert and spent the remainder of the day doing a Skull Caverns run, which was headlined by this prismatic shard drop on floor 40. I forgot that I have the iridium scythe now, so I'm harvesting starfruit and ancient fruit by hand in the greenhouse on day 111. Today is Sophia's birthday, so I gave her a rabbit's foot, then ran back home where I finally remembered the iridium scythe exists. Today was another day spent doing a Skull Cavern session at the Calico Desert. Unfortunately, there aren't any real highlights from this session since I was pretty unlucky. I've been sitting on a dinosaur egg for a while, so I decided to finally get that incubating on day 112, the final day of year 1. I spent the morning at Clint's cracking open some geodes and artifact troves. I got myself the Treasure Appraisal Guide, which is a great read. Then I dropped off some minerals at Gunther's museum, leaving only 2 more needed to complete this section. To finish off this final day of winter, I decided to finally finish the Dust Sprite Slayer goal and collect the infamous Burglar's Ring. On day 113, the first day of year 2, Kent has arrived back to Pelican Town. So there's another NPC I need to befriend. I collected some oak resin at the tree farm and spent the entirety of the morning tilling out space needed to plant spring seeds on the farm. I ran into Andy having a respectfully loud disagreement with Lewis at the town square and diffused the situation by taking Lewis over to the old community garden. He asked me if I would take over this plot of land, and of course I accepted, and then I went over to Pierre's and bought way too many potatoes. I spent the evening getting those planted and watered, before scything down some wild grass to put a cap on this first day of spring. To kick off day 114, I collected the mistake that was turning powder melons into jelly, then dropped off a void egg in the mayo maker. Today I crafted one of the most resource-expensive items in the entire game, the Statue of Blessings. Now I can get a cool buff to start off every day. I went down to the coast and formally introduced myself to Scarlet, Sophia's best friend, collected a goldfish behind the Blue Moon Vineyard, then listened to Magnus vent about his ex-wife. I did some artifact digging just north of my farm and found a fishing hat and a couple stones, the former of which I decided to put on my head. Over at the train station, I ran into Marlin and decided to take him up on his offer to join in on the meetings of Pelican Town's elite adventurers and wizards before receiving Susan's patented fermentation method to increase the price of everything except wine, because it's already broken. Why would we have another way to make more money? With the Dark Talisman in hand, I unlocked another cavern to run into, and a brand new location included in the Stardew Expanded mod, the Forbidden Maze. Now, this maze is not only filled with new monsters and resources, but is also incredibly dangerous, exemplified by my death here. I hobbled out of there and back to Harvey's clinic to get checked out, but I will not be deterred. I went back up to the train station and collected a new artifact in the form of some amber, then went back into the Forbidden Maze. I successfully made my way through the swampy labyrinth and gifted the goblin henchman with some void mayonnaise. I caught myself a void salmon while I was there, and successfully acquired the wizard's ink. With that, I ran back to his tower to return it to him, where he thanked me by granting me access to his shop to finish the day. I got a very ominous letter from the goblin henchman to start day 115. I'll handle him later. What's important this morning is harvesting more coffee beans, expanding my keg farm in the quarry, and getting more coffee brewing. I completed Pam's request for a single piece of jade, then paid her to take me out to the Calico Desert so that I could collect some wood. I did eventually make my way back to the Forbidden Maze, where the goblin asked me to repair his house for him now that he's unemployed and homeless. He needs a whole lot of mushrooms and resources found in the maze, but I'm more preoccupied trying to get new fish like this swamp crab. After grabbing that crab, I spent the rest of the day running around the maze collecting resources and made a pretty solid dent in getting the goblin's house back up to living condition. As I was sleeping all comfy in bed, a lightning strike opened up the previously closed JoJo Mart. A rainy day 116 begins as I give Brownie a carrot, which, fun fact, increases horse speed by 40%. I got some more starfruit planted in the greenhouse, galloped over to the old JoJo Mart, and squeezed through the half-open door and discovered a lost Junimo and the missing bundle, where I made instant progress by donating a prismatic shard. The last legendary fish I'm missing from the base game is the Legend, but he's a lot harder to catch than I remember. So I ran home and collected some food to increase my fishing level, which made this catch possible. I also went down to floor 20 of the mines and caught a stonefish and ghostfish before making my way to the keg farm to collect some coffee to finish the day. I'm back on my fishing grind to start day 117. I picked up the grass carp in the wood skip in the secret woods, then ran back to the Forbidden Maze. I reached level 2 of mastery by killing some mobs and then spent the entirety of the day running around the maze collecting mushrooms to finally complete the goblin's house. Thanks to my expert mushroom foraging, the goblin might be unemployed, but at least he has a place to sleep on day 118. It's been a couple days since I've been to Ginger Island, so I decided that the entirety of today would be spent at the exotic archipelago. I fed the parrots some walnuts to unlock the west side of the island, started the Pirate's Locket questline, and then completed the Slime Monster Slayer goal by dispatching some of these tiger slimes. I picked up some more golden walnuts exploring and doing this little rhythm memorization game, and was able to renovate the island shack into a proper farmhouse. I spent the afternoon clearing off all the debris on the island farmland, then went over to the volcano dungeon to collect some more walnuts and copper ore. I finished this fruitful island day by catching the blue discus. I spent the morning of day 119 utilizing a handful of walnuts to unlock the dig site and collecting the easily accessible walnuts across the bridge. I then employed the power of the bomb to free Professor Snail from his watery coffin. With the professor being freed, I could donate the fossilized items that I found so far, and then I collected a couple more golden walnuts by correctly answering the quiz questions about how many flowers and starfish are present on Ginger Island. Back at Pelican Town, I harvested all the ripe potatoes on the farm and collected some starfruit jelly before watching the townsfolk chow down on the mega omelet at the saloon. I eavesdropped on Marnie and Lewis chatting about their dalliances, then gifted Lewis a hot pepper for his birthday to make him feel better about not being able to date Marnie in public. I then spent the remainder of the day framing out a new crop section for the farm that will see me upgrade to iridium sprinklers. Finishing that renovated crop section pretty much took all of day 120 as well. But hey, it's looking really good, and I'm excited to get some strawberries planted when the Egg Festival comes around. I spent the remainder of the day collecting some tree fruits in the greenhouse, grabbing a rabbit's foot from the coop, finishing up the pathway framing for the new crop section, and then riding out to the town square where I learned that I missed Lance's birthday doing all that renovating. Yesterday's thunderstorm yielded some battery packs to collect the morning of day 121. Then it's over to the keg farm to start the refresh of my coffee supply. I gave Kent the war memento to get the pirate locket quest underway, accepted Emily's rock rejuvenation special request, and then ran into everyone's favorite sisters getting into a heated argument. Don't mind me, ladies, I'm just here to give Emily all the stones that she asked for. I saw Emily say hello to the Ginger Island parrots, then ran down to the final path cave to select the Foraging Mastery perk. I gave Gus the tomato salt that Kent gave me this morning, took a bus out to the Calico Desert, gave Sandy the rose Gus just gave me, then did some deforestation. That evening, I completed the Pelican Town side of the Pirate Lock quest by giving George the Universal Remote, Magnus the Arctic Shard, and Willie the Wiggling Worm to finally receive the locket. I finished the day in the quarry, collecting all this delicious coffee that will be turned into triple shot espressos. Thanks to me completing Emily's special request yesterday, she mailed me a portable sewing kit to start day 122. I harvested some ripe star fruit and ancient fruit in the greenhouse, got some of those crops placed in the preserves jars, and then gave Vincent a pink cake for his birthday. To finish the day off, I hopped on the bus to Calico Desert and did a Skull Cavern session that was highlighted by grabbing another dinosaur egg in this here prehistoric floor. I start off day 123 by getting that egg placed in the mayo maker, then harvesting a whole bunch of carrots that'll be used as brownie fuel. I've been hoarding artifact trophies, so I stopped by at Clint's to get all those popped open, before running back to the farm to grab that dino mayo. Over at the abandoned Joja Mart, I was able to complete half of the missing bundle with that aforementioned dino mayo and the void salmon I caught a couple days ago, and then I went back to Clint's to crack open some 𝐲𝐷𝐿𝐷s, hoping for the last 2 minerals I needed. But of course all I got was some stuff I already had. Back on the farm, I finally completed framing out the machine section before crafting 21 more kegs. I wish I did this much earlier than right now, but I finally provided Clint with the 20 iridium ore and coal he needed to blast open that rock near the summit. I got those new kegs placed at the quarry, then finished the day by making a solid donation towards getting that old shed renovated in the northwest section of the farm. I got some more star fruit harvested in the greenhouse the morning of day 124, then booked a ticket to Ginger Island. Using some pretty solid critical thinking skills, I was able to dispatch this little green Dougie for a golden walnut. I got some taro roots planted by the river, provided the old lady with the pirate locket, and then I spent the remainder of the day fishing looking for new Stardew Expanded fish. I caught the blue tang, the lionfish, the baby lunaloo, the ocean sunfish, and the sea sponge to put a cap on the day. I spent the morning of day 125 on the island where I found my first ever golden animal cracker. Today is the Egg Festival, so I spent the time before the celebration collecting ready jelly and prepping the farmland for strawberries, of which I bought 384 seeds. While chatting with the townsfolk at the festival, I was able to get the popular achievement. But as popular as I am, I once again failed to convince Lewis to just give me the win for the egg competition. With only 4 hours to water over 384 seeds, I unfortunately wasn't able to end the day with all the strawberries being wet. Magnus woke me up on day 126 explaining that he has been asked to teach me some warp magic. So I got some crops harvested in the greenhouse, got them placed in the preserves jars, and then checked in on the town ladies indulging in some mythical rock healing. I gave Haley a coconut for her birthday, then ran down to Magnus's tower where I drank another strange concoction that gave me the power of creating warp points. Now that I have this power, I'm going to need a central location where all my warp points will live, aka a nexus. Just north of my farm, Magnus located a suitable location and turned it into an enchanted grove with the power of magic. With the grove being complete, the first warp point that got added to my nexus was one to Magnus's basement. For me though, the best thing about the nexus is the tree in the middle that grows these dewdrop berries that grant some ludicrous buffs. Side note, don't be dumb like me and turn them into jelly. They're absolutely worthless in jelly form. After that waste of resources, I hopped on a bus to Calico Desert and exchanged all my jade for staircases to get to the 100th floor of the Skull Cavern. I dug up a strange doll artifact, then started making my way down the floors. I found a treasure room with an auto grabber, and then made it to floor 100 and drank Mr. Key's special juice that permanently increases my health. The final highlight of the Skull Cavern session took place on level 120, where I killed the final bat needed to complete that Monster Slayer goal. I started day 127 by getting all that iridium I collected yesterday smelting, then stopped by the coop to install the auto grabber. I collected some ready oak resin from the tree farm, popped over to Clint's to open up some 𝐲𝐷𝐿𝐷s and mystery boxes, then created my second warp point for my nexus. I then took the bus out to Calico Desert, where I attended the Desert Festival for the first time this playthrough. I ate some rumpled fruit skin, gave Olivia a birthday present, and then got into the mines to kill the 30 serpents needed to complete the Calico Egg quest. I purchased Penny's frying pan from her stall and ended the day back at the farm by collecting a whole bunch of iridium bars and smelting some iron. Day 128 begins in the greenhouse replanting some starfruit. I chucked some iron bars into the dilapidated shed, then went over to Haley's house to listen to her vent about something. I honestly don't remember what her problem was. I wasn't paying attention. Anyways, I went back to Calico Desert to do another session of serpent slaying, and not only did I accomplish the request, but I also got level 3 of mastery, a super rare auto petter drop from a treasure floor, and completed another monster slayer goal. I showed Gil how deep I got into the skull cavern today and got 200 calico eggs, but more importantly, I got my own version of his hat, which was an instant equip to end the day. A rainy day 129 begins as I collect some jelly and got a firm reminder that I shouldn't have preserved that dewdrop berry. I got that auto petter plopped down in the coop and then made my way to the desert for the final day of festivities. I gave Kent some iron to complete a request of his, accepted the 30 floor goal, and successfully made my way down to that level. The only other highlight from this descent into the caverns was getting this prismatic shard on floor 38. As the sun set on a final festival day, I picked up Alex's bat, Sebastian's mace, and the magic rock candy, before picking up the fishing mastery perk to end the day. I had quite a few battery packs and iridium bars to pick up to start day 130. And then it's over to the quarry, where I finally finished the stone flooring before filling up the kegs with more coffee beans. I got a dinosaur egg donated to the museum, leaving only 3 more artifacts until its completion is official, and then gave Pam a cactus fruit birthday gift that added her to my list of best friends. Over at Robin's, I was given the schematics to flute and drum blocks, but my original intention of being here was to reorganize my farm a little bit and purchase a brand new item, the fishing pond. That afternoon, I helped Haley find her bracelet while I was on my way to Ginger Island, and then finished the day off by starting my island farming journey by getting some ancient fruit, garlic, and melon growing on the island farm. I'm still on Ginger Island to start day 131, and I'm framing out my island farm space with some weathered flooring. Back in Pelican Town, I got some greenhouse coffee beans harvested, then dropped off the final battery packs needed to finish the dilapidated shack renovation. To finish this short day, I collected some coffee at the quarry and placed 5 gold ancient fruit in the missing bundle. Robin's at my door to start day 132 to let me know that the shed reno will be finished tomorrow. My auto grabber got some iridium rabbit's feet for me to collect, and then it's over to my newly fashioned fish pond to place the legend in. I did a little bit of beautification for the pond area, then ran up to Robin's to get another pond queued up. Over at Clint's, I opened up almost 70 Omni Geodes, but didn't get any of the 2 minerals I needed, so that's fun. I went to the Adventurers Guild that afternoon, and Marlon gave me a nice little gem that I was able to use to create my 3rd warp point for my Nexus. I checked in with Gil and collected 3 rewards for the Monster Slayer goals I most recently accomplished, and then spent the remainder of the day farming frozen geodes in the mines, since the last 2 minerals I need come from that pool of geodes. Day 133 is strawberry harvesting day, so I got those delicious red morsels scythed down and got them fermenting in kegs and preserves jars before getting a handful turned into seeds to add to my greenhouse crops. I helped my friend Shane direct a movie starring Clint and Emily, then ran over to Pierre's to complete a request. I eavesdropped on Olivia and Victor's private conversation, and then had a brief chat about Personable 5 with Victor. I completed another request by giving an emerald to Olivia, then stopped by the Junimo Woods. My little pink Junimo friend gave me an ancient scroll that would become my 4th Nexus warp point. I just remembered that Robin fixed that old shed today, so I stopped by to take a look at her handiwork. The coolest thing this space has to offer is basically another greenhouse on the 2nd floor. To finish the day off, I used my brand new Junimo Woods Nexus warp point to purchase the fossilized apple artifact. Robin is once again at my front door to start day 134, this time asking for 900 units of stone to make a bridge to my new shed. Before I do that though, I need to collect some oak resin and put the crimson fish in the newly erected fish pond. Speaking of fish ponds, I got another queued up, then deposited the stone Robin asked for this morning. I also finished a request for Robin while I was up here. After that busy morning, I unwinded by doing a little bit of gossiping with the town ladies before donating that fossilized apple I bought yesterday. All this construction has depleted my reserves, so I went to Calico Desert and got some hardwood, a whole bunch of starfruit seeds from Sandy, and another statue of treasure from the casino. I spent the evening plotting out all the quality sprinklers for the shed greenhouse and passed out on the way home. Overnight, Bessie gave birth to a calf, and I named it Westy. Another day means another morning with Robin at my door. On day 135, she's here to tell me that the bridge will be ready tomorrow. This morning, I got all the starfruit seeds I purchased yesterday planted in the shed greenhouse, and then decided to spend the day fishing. Over at Aurora Vineyard, I caught the king salmon. At the Shearwater Bridge, I had a pretty decent fight with a new legendary fish that turned out to be the wolf snapper, and I also caught the puppy fish. I took a quick detour over at Andy's house, who seems to have cleaned up his act a little bit, and as a reward for his cleanliness, I gave him the king salmon I caught earlier today. I put a cap on day 135 in the Junimo Woods by catching that meteor carp. I'm in the greenhouse to start day 136 collecting ancient fruit. Then I made my way over to the shed by using my brand new bridge, which is definitely worth the 900 stone I paid for it. Up in the shed greenhouse, I got more starfruit planted before dropping off some golden animal crackers in the fish ponds. Today is the flower dance, and I picked the marriage candidate with the least hearts that would actually dance with me, which just so happened to be Victor. So I did a little dance with everyone's favorite gamer boy to finish off a short day 136. A final crop of strawberries is ready for harvest to start day 137, then it's over to the new fish pond to drop off the wolf snapper, which was stupid, by the way, don't do that. These wolf snappers do not produce roe. I finally finished filling out the shed greenhouse with starfruit, then made my way to Ginger Island. When I got there, a ruby genbird dropped off a gift that I got put in the altar before getting more ancient fruit planted on the island farm. I saw Lance chilling in the rain, so I gave him a rabbit's foot for good luck, and then did a volcano dungeon run, where I got a cool new pirate's hat and some golden walnuts before utilizing a farm warp totem to call it a day. The morning of day 138 is spent at the fish ponds collecting roe and doing some beautification by adding stone pathing and preserves jars to age the roe. Today's Pierre's birthday, so I got him some fried calamari, and then went over to Evelyn's house to complete a request and get a new best friend. Over at the quarry, I got more kegs installed, and then went back into level 40 of the mines to farm more frozen geodes to end the day. I got a vision of something happening at the Aurora Vineyard to start day 139, so I went straight there and found another Junimo bundle. As I was leaving the forest, I ran into Magnus, where he pointed out I had an ancient scroll in my pocket. Having no idea how I got there, Magnus called up one of his friends, Camilla, to translate the scroll. The scroll says that a Junimo has taken up residence at the vineyard and is requesting 200 starfruit. So I guess it's a good thing that I have a lot of it growing in both of my greenhouses. Over at Clint's, I picked up another request, this time for 30 gold bars. But before I donate those, I have to crack open some frozen geodes. But of course, I didn't get any of the minerals I wanted. Emily got some wool and a new best friend for her birthday, and then Clint got his gold bars. I got more kegs placed down at the quarry before completing a request for Robin. To finish the day off, I gave Shane a beer and made another best friend, got a magic rock candy from the prize machine, and then fished up a slime jack in the bug lair. Thanks to giving Clint those 30 gold bars, he woke me up on day 140, the final day of spring, to let me know he's going to chop down a thicket next to my shed to reveal something nice. That morning, I went straight to Ginger Island to show the big frogman my harvestable melons, wheat, and garlic for a whole bunch of golden walnuts that I used to craft the island mailbox, along with the beach resort. After a bit of guessing for the last 2 gems, I got the correct configuration at the altar and collected some more walnuts before fishing up another walnut at the eastern wading pool and digging one up at the intersection of the starfish. At the Pirate Cove, I got my hands on a stingray and got yet another walnut before running over to the dig site where I found a fun little bone hat to equip. That evening, I fished up the final golden walnut of the day and used them all to create the farm warp obelisk, which I used to end the day by collecting and selling a couple bottles of Aged Legend Roe, which is a cheat code for easy money. All hail Aged Legend Roe. Day 141, the first day of summer, begins by clearing out all the dead strawberry stalks from the crop field, dropping off the glacier fish and a golden animal cracker in the fish pond after realizing the wolf snapper doesn't do anything, and then seeing what Clint discovered overnight. My very own spa that grants me 1 random +3 stat buff for the whole day. That afternoon, I found Pierre's secret stash, then purchased a whole bunch of blueberry and melon seeds from the man himself. I got all those seeds planted, collected a whole bunch of oak tree resin, and then went over to Ginger Island to do a volcano dungeon run, where I found one of, if not the best, pair of boots in the game, the mermaid boots. Unfortunately, I spent way too much time in the volcano dungeon today, and I passed out a couple feet away from my island house. While I was doing some crop field framing to start day 142, I realized that I messed up the placement of these iridium sprinklers, so now I have everything looking really stupid. But don't worry about it, I'll fix it later. What's important right now is correctly doing the mermaid song puzzle over at the eastern beach. Back at Pelican Town, I got the 4th level of mastery completed by harvesting some strawberries at the greenhouse, did some more fish pond beautification, then ran down to the final path cave and selected the mining mastery perk to finish the day. The morning of day 143 was spent collecting some glacier fish in Crimson Fish Row, hanging out with Robin just north of the farm, and then buying yet another fish pond. Obviously, I had to make it look nice before heading out to the Calico Desert, buying more starfruit seeds from Sandy, then doing a skull cavern dive, assisted by the mystical Dewdrop Berry. I was able to get down to floor 102 today, but the most important thing was finishing the Serpent Monster Slayer goal. So I beelined it straight to the Adventurers Guild to collect my favorite ring in the game, the Napalm Ring. To end the day, I crafted the statue of the Dwarf King for 20 iridium bars, and got it placed right next to my other statues. I started day 144 by helping Shane pick up the garbage he left at the coast the other night. I then found him already passed out again in his room that afternoon. I gave Jess an ancient doll for her birthday, threw around the pigskin with everyone's favorite jock Alex, and then went back to Ginger Island to combine my iridium band with the napalm ring. I also applied some perks to my iridium tools, but the only one that I won't reroll eventually was the powerful on my pickaxe. I decided to do another run through the volcano and open up the escape hatch on floor 5, then finish the day off by re-rolling the perk on my fishing rod and got Preserving, which I will most definitely hold on to for now. I've got more Age Legend Row ready for sale to start day 145, then it's over to the quarry to get my necessary caffeine hit. I replaced the coffee beans for strawberries today, before running over to Caroline's greenhouse to have some tea. I was really close to completing the Void Spirit Monster Slayer goal, so I dispatched the necessary enemies that evening and grabbed the Savage Ring from Gil, before buying and reading the Dwarvish Safety Manual. To finish off the day, I farmed a whole bunch of wood to craft another 33 kegs, then watched the Age Row money flow into my bank account. I spent the morning of day 146 in the greenhouse restoring my strawberry reserves, before getting all those kegs I made last night plopped down in the quarry. I then went over to Clint's to start upgrading my watering can, and opened a handful of golden mystery boxes, where I got a cool new hat. That afternoon, I got a sturgeon placed into a new fish pond, made my way to Calico Desert, and partook in a little bit of deforestation for some wood and hardwood. To finish the day off, I did some more gambling to cover the cost of yet another statue of treasure. I harvested another round of ancient fruit in the greenhouse to start day 147, and got some of them fermenting in the kegs on the farm before running down to the mines in search of more frozen geodes. After almost 100 frozen and omni geodes, I finally got the last mineral I needed, Esperite. I got that donated and was able to finally feel the satisfaction of a filled up minerals collection tab. To celebrate my achievement, I parted ways with 100 hardwood and 65,000 G for the second house upgrade, before ending the day by catching the ever elusive ice pit. On day 148, I collected some oak resin at my tree farm, stopped down at the beach to work on collecting the crab pot fish for my collection, then went over to Clint's to collect my copper watering can. I really wanted to finish the missing bundle soon, so I popped a sea foam pudding at Ginger Island in an attempt to catch the shark. I got the bear knife jaw, a seahorse, and a clownfish, but unfortunately the shark eluded me today. On the bright side, Gus was actually at the beach resort, so not only could I pick up the tropical curry recipe, but I could also grab a pale ale for Pam's quest, as well as the gold quality wine for the missing bundle. That being said, I could still complete the bundle today if I caught the shark, so I did even more fishing that evening and caught a regular Lunaloo and a shiny Lunaloo, but no shark for this boy today. I woke up on day 149 to the unlocking of the Millionaire achievement. Gus was at my door this morning and gifted me the mini jukebox, and almost all of my starfruit in the shed greenhouse are ready for harvest. I got all 130 of those thrown into the Aurora Vineyard bundle, and I refreshed the shed greenhouse with more starfruit seeds. I gained a new best friend by giving Robin some hardwood, and then commiserated with Victor about his lost cat. I really do hope Dudley comes back. I was honestly kind of sad watching this cutscene. I made another best friend today by giving George a leek, then stopped by the abandoned JojaMart to contribute that aged wine to the bundle. I completed a couple of requests by giving Pam that pale ale, and then donated a pufferfish to Demetrius for some type of experiment. I then got my third best friend of the day by gifting and talking to Caroline, unlocking the Beloved Farmer achievement. To finish the day off, I went up to the summit and did some late night flower foraging. Robin finished my second house upgrade to start day 150, and Marlon stopped by to let me know he's expecting me at the Adventurers Guild sometime soon. The sturgeon in the fish pond was requesting a diamond, so I gave him a delicious crystallized carbon and added a couple more sturgeon to the pond. That afternoon, I found Shane passed out by the coast, and I guess he's so inebriated that the cold summer rain won't even sober him up. Up at the forest lake, I caught myself the gar, sided with Demetrius that tomatoes were a fruit, and then went to the Adventurers Guild. Gunther needs to do some in-person research in the cave tomorrow, so I offered my services to protect him. And then after Gunther left to go home to prepare for tomorrow, Marlon informed me that we need to get his boat back up and running and saddled me with a quest for a whole bunch of monster loot. Before I commit to that though, I discovered a new location in the Western Forest, the Sprite Spring. The Sprite Spring has some rare flowers and a spa similar to the one that Clint found on my farm. But the last thing I did on day 150 is harvest the straggler starfruits at the shed greenhouse. Thanks to my intervention yesterday, Shane has decided to see a therapist on day 151. Good job, Shane, I'm proud of you. Over at the fish ponds, I got some sturgeon roe preserving to make some caviar. Then I made my way to the mines to serve as Gunther's bodyguard as he does some hands-on research. After assisting our friend in the mines, I accepted Robin's Resource Rush special request, took a quick bus down to the desert, and chopped down all the trees needed to get that request completed. Today is the Stardew Luau, so I picked up the ice cream sundae recipe from Pierre and threw a gold quality strawberry in the soup, which the mayor seemed to enjoy. I've got some rain and the stone chest recipe from Robin to start off day 152. But before going to Ginger Island, I collected some crustaceans in the crab pots, and then scythed down my first crop of ancient fruit at the island farm. This day was pretty short since I spent the entirety of it expanding the farm with more iridium sprinklers, harvesting some taro roots including some golden walnuts, and turning ancient fruit into seeds at the seed makers. The morning of day 153 is spent on Ginger Island continuing the massive ancient fruit planting, digging up some artifact spots looking for fossilized items for Professor Snail, and cracking open muscle stones for golden walnuts. I utilized the farm warp obelisk and returned to a rainy Pelican Town to harvest my first crop of melons this season, before taking the bus out to Calico Desert to purchase more starfruit seeds for the Aurora Vineyard bundle. Today is Alex's birthday, so I gave him a rabbit's foot, planted those starfruit seeds to replace the melons, and then had a very frustrating moment with Leia as I was trying to complete a request that I had from her. Oh, there she is. Why are you going this way? No, don't go in there. Don't go in there! As you can see, I couldn't complete the request, but I was able to finish the day off by making some solid progress towards Marlon's boat repair. My first crop of blueberries are ready for harvest to start off day 154, and then I replaced the sturgeon with a mutant carp at the fish pond since I already have that roe preserving. That afternoon, I collected all the fermented strawberry wine at the quarry and repopulated all the kegs before seeing a couple of cutscenes. I caught Alex talking to his dog Dusty, enjoyed a relaxing tide pool viewing with Vincent, and took a couple of selfies with Haley. After all that extrovert interaction, I decided to just chill the rest of the day by taking a ride down to the desert and partake in a Skull Cavern session, which was pretty forgettable, but at least I did get some solid blueberry money. Day 155 begins at the fish pond, collecting all the legendary roe and, more importantly, some freshly preserved caviar. I got some oak resin harvested from the tree farm, harvested some fresh starfruit from the greenhouse, and completed a request by giving one of those to Kent. With caviar firmly in hand, I was finally able to complete the missing bundle, which allows this purple Junimo to return to all his friends. That afternoon, I provided Marlon with the final monster drops needed to fix his boat, then ran over to Pierre's to purchase some new Stardew Expanded fruit tree saplings, since I'm going to need them for future cooking recipes. I got all of those set up in the greenhouse before going back to Calico Desert to do another Skull Cavern run. This time around, there was a highlight. I finally got the last bit of XP I needed to reach the 5th and final level of Mastery. So, to end the day, I selected the Combat Mastery perk at the final Path Cave and watched my Junimo friends renovate the abandoned JojaMart overnight. As I was just inspecting the grounds of my farm, Lewis came up to me on day 156 to let me know that this entire section of land across the fence from my farm is available for purchase for 250,000 G. Now that's a little bit steep if you ask me, but I will purchase it eventually. But before I get that deed, Marlon's boat is finally repaired, and he and I can make our maiden voyage to the Highlands region, another new location added in the Expanded mod, where Lance watches over this monster-infested wasteland. Much like the Forbidden Maze, the Highlands are very dangerous. The monsters hit hard, and there are a lot of them that just pop up out of nowhere. So while exploring that new location being very careful, I discovered a hidden cavern filled to the brim with diamond nodes, and killed this little final boss Pepper X dude at the top of the hill. He drops a lot of cool and expensive stuff, but the most interesting thing is this mysterious golden key. But that's an adventure for another day. It's bedtime, and a brand new cow, Dressy, is welcome to the farm. Lance sent me a package with 24 life elixirs to start day 157. Boy, those would have been nice yesterday, Lance. Anyways, I got the tree coin sapling I found in the Highlands yesterday planted near my greenhouse shed, then watched Shane get his shit together by gifting Jess with some bunny jewel slippers and starting his own ranching journey with his blue chickens. While I was at Marnie's, I purchased and read the animal catalog before purchasing a couple of goats who obviously need to be named 𝐕𝐝𝐵𝐵𝐿 and 𝐵𝐵𝐿. The abandoned JoJo Mart has been magically transformed into a movie theater, so we can now welcome Claire and Martin back to Pelican Town as they have some permanent employment. Today is Sam's birthday, so I gave him a cactus fruit, then went up to Robin's to purchase the deluxe shed upgrade, along with a whole bunch of flooring and brazier recipes. To finish the day off, I went over to Ginger Island to continue fleshing out my ancient fruit farm. Day 158 is pretty short, and it begins by harvesting another crop of blueberries on the farm, then making my way back to the Highlands, where I discovered a very spooky cave that is filled to the brim with void spirits, one of which dropped my favorite trinket in the game, the fairy box. I finished the day off by making my way through the cave, where I found a dwarf illegally detained in a holding cell. I'm guessing the golden key I got the other day would free him, but it's just my luck that I forgot to bring it with me today. Demetrius' birthday headlines day 159, and he got himself a strawberry, and I got a new best friend. I completed a request for a single topaz from Harvey, then bought some new animals now that my deluxe barn is finished. I got 2 sheep named Pringle and Shingle, and 2 pigs named Francis and Krampus. I finally had enough starfruits harvested to complete the Aurora Vineyard bundle, then I went down to the Sprite Spring to create my 5th Nexus warp point. I ran over to the Blue Moon Vineyard and gave Sophia a fairy stone, then took the boat to Ginger Island, where I finally managed to catch a shark with the power of a +3 spa fishing buff, a +2 fishing buff from the Dish of the Sea recipe, deluxe bait, and double cork bobbers, which makes my reel-in zone take up about half of the fishing bar. While I had all these buffs going, I decided to catch some more Stardew Expanded fish, including the void eel at the witch's house, the alligator in the Forbidden Maze, the 𝐼𝐵𝐴𝐼𝐵𝐵 statue down near the sewer grate, and I capped off a glorious fishing day by catching the goby near the waterfalls. It looks like some Junimo magic is taking place near the Aurora Vineyards to kick off day 160, so I hightailed it down there and was introduced to my brand new Junimo friend, Apples. Today I spent some time petting Dusty with Sophia, had a quick chat with Claire who was on a lunch break, then made my way to Calico Desert, where I did a skull cavern dive, where I reached a new record low floor on 122 to put an end to this short day. I kicked off day 161 in the quarry, collecting some strawberry wine and repopulating the kegs with melons, before doing another fishing day, this time in the Highlands. I caught the Highlands bass near the river, the fiber goby at the ruined lake, and the gemfish in the cavern lake. To finish the day off, I utilized the golden key to free my mans, then watched the first massive batch of wine money hit my bank account. Since I now know that this plot of land across the fence will be mine soon, I started day 162 by cutting down my oak tree farm. After harvesting a whole bunch of blueberries on the farm and a handful of starfruit in the shed greenhouse, I gave the dwarf a birthday present, then made my way to Calico Desert. I bought some more starfruit seeds from Sandy so that I could refresh my shed greenhouse, and after destroying this massive rock, I found my own personal cave on the farm. I finished the day off by crafting half a dozen heavy furnaces and getting them fired up with copper ore. As I went to go to bed for the evening, a baby sheep was born, who I named Kringle. The Green Rain event headlines day 163, but since I already reached the final level of mastery and I don't need any moss for the Statue of Blessings, I spent the day like I would any other. I made a whole bunch of kegs and got started on crafting another keg operation on the first floor of the shed greenhouse. Over at Lewis's house, I purchased the property deed for 250,000 G, but every time I tried to give Lewis the deed so that I could expand my farm, the game just wouldn't let me. So I decided to put that on the back burner and just finish the day by farming copper ore in the early levels of the mines. Day 164 begins in the Aurora Vineyard. Apples provided me with an old bottle of Aurora Vineyard wine that I was able to use to make my 6th Nexus warp point. Today is Willie's birthday, so I gave him a gold bar gift and got a new best friend. I saw Sam hit a sick grind in front of Lewis and had a chat with Victor about how he doesn't want to work. Over at Marnie's, I was finally able to give Lewis that property deed, and then I spent the afternoon cracking open some mystery boxes at Clint's, where I found the shirt to complete my ensemble. I placed some bait in the crab pots near my fishing pond, and then took a trip to Calico Desert, where I spent the remainder of the day doing an unremarkable run in the Skull Cavern. I had a couple of visitors to start day 165. First was Leah stopping by to give me a wooden sculpture, and then I was kidnapped by Camilla the Witch. She took me to my enchanted grove and then teleported both of us to another brand new Stardew Expanded location, Galdora, a red-tinged wasteland where adventurers become worm food. The only way to get here is via magic warp, so I was able to make my 7th warp point and officially finish my Nexus. When I returned home, my third and final house guest, Lewis, showed up to let me know that my farm expansion has been approved, and tomorrow, that fence will be chopped down. Getting the day started in earnest, I collected the last crab pot fish I needed for my collection, leaving only a handful of new expanded fish left for me to grab. I threw some aged fish roe into the shipping bin, watched on as Pam verbally abused Martin at the movie theater, then watched Sebastian do some coding. Over at my newly completed Nexus, I took the warp point to Galdora, and reunited with Elysia, who introduced me to another adventurer, Isaac. If you thought the Highlands and the Forbidden Maze were a step up in difficulty, Galdora is a different league. There are so many enemies, most of which hit like a truck and have the health to back it up. But what I really came here for were the 2 fish that are exclusive to Galdora, one of which being the undead fish I got right here. One annoying thing about Stardew that I've noticed is that enemies can still hurt you when you're fishing, so I was lucky enough to just catch the undead fish and this here bonefish, and get out of this hellhole to end the day. A rainy day 166 begins by inspecting my brand new expanded farm section.
You guys are not going to regret this. We're going to get so much more activities done.
Today is the final harvest of summer crops, so I spent the morning scything down some ripe starfruit and blueberries, before starting to frame out what will eventually become a space for my obelisk, greenhouse, and any other building I might want to make. I got some wheat slapped down in the place of those starfruit so I don't have to do a lot of work tilling and watering spots the first day of autumn, and then completed a request by giving 1 topaz to Elliot. Over at Ginger Island, I gave Leo a rabbit's foot for his birthday, enjoyed the last bit of summer with our bird friend on the beach, and then got jump scared by Lance after Leo had left. That afternoon, I was finally able to make my way into Mr. Key's walnut room, where I was gently reminded about just how far I need to go to perfect Stardew Expanded. I activated the Danger in the Deep quest and spent the remainder of the day making progress through the hard mode mines, where I was able to make it down 30 floors. Day 167 was super short in the sense that all I did was continue making my way down the hard mode mines. I got my first bit of radioactive ore, but the true accomplishment was knocking out 70 hard mine levels in one day. The final day of summer, day 168, begins at the quarry, collecting my freshly fermented melon wine and getting the kegs repopulated with some strawberries. Over at the greenhouse shed, I increased the keg capacity on the first floor, then finished the Danger in the Deep key quest by making it all the way down to floor 120. I got a couple more kegs produced and plopped down in the greenhouse shed, then ran down to the beach to spend one final summer evening watching the dance of the moonlight jellies. Day 169 in the first day of autumn starts with Lewis at my door letting me know that a brand new building called the Winery is available for construction at Robbins. That's a dream for another day though, as I need to scythe down these dead blueberry stalks. When I went into town, I found Camilla at Shearwater Bridge doing some magic, enabling a new fish to be caught, the kitty fish. Over at Pierre's, I got some pumpkin seeds purchased, got those planted down at the farm, and then went over to Ginger Island and unlocked the Island Trader. I made my way to Key's Walnut Room and selected the Key's Kindness quest, then purchased my favorite item in the game, the horse flute. Back in Pelican Town, I watched Kent experience PTSD firsthand, opened up a stuck pickle jar for Haley, listened to Clint give his nice guys finish last spiel, and then finished the day off by eavesdropping on Olivia chastising her son for being a deadbeat. All that weed I planted is finally ready for harvest on day 170, and over at the shed greenhouse I had some coffee and strawberry wine ready for collection. I went down to the chicken coop where I welcomed Glizzy the lizard into the family, and then I grabbed some more pumpkin seeds at Pierre's and got them all sown at the farm. I went over to the shed greenhouse to start making some ancient fruit wine, and then I inappropriately picked up Leah like that one really uncomfortable episode of The Office.
Oh my god, hey, put me down. Hey!
I interrupted Clint's creepy stalking behavior, and then watched Sam do his best impression of me trying to get the Fector's Challenge achievement before gifting and talking to Vincent. I am now best friends with a small child. I'm also best friends with his babysitter after I gave her an emerald. That evening, I found Olivia de-stressing with some wine after that blow up with Victor, and then went down to the Junimo Woods to purchase the Stone of Yoba for 60,000 G. I watched Clint get brutally rejected by Emily, and then put a cap on day 170 at the saloon, buying up all the possible recipes. I started off day 171 by giving a starfruit to my Junimo pal apples, before moving my greenhouse closer to my farmhouse up at Robbins. Side note, this won't be its final location, I'm just tired of running so far every morning. While I was at Robbins, I looked at the blueprint for the winery, and Lewis was right when he said that it would not come cheap. I had a brief chat with Penny about dinosaurs, before donating that Stone of Yoba at the museum. I then went and watched Emily do a dance with her bird friend, and Leah's having some ex-boyfriend issues. But it's not my place to butt in, so I just went to go play some video games with Abigail, and show her who's the best gamer this side of Shearwater River to end the day. One of my pigs found its first truffle today, so the morning of day 172 saw me throw that into a newly fashioned oil maker before hitching a ride down to Calico Desert. While looking around for the palm fossil, the last artifact I needed to complete the museum, I unearthed the Stone of Yoba. Yes, the very same Stone of Yoba I just purchased for 60,000 G. To put that in perspective, I could have dug up 200 artifact spots and not gotten it, so that's a great stroke of luck that I didn't need. While I was at the desert, I cut down some trees and purchased a good amount of deluxe speed grow, before running over to the bookseller to exchange some books for some resources. To finish the day off, I put all that speed grow down in the shed greenhouse and normal greenhouse. The morning of day 173 was spent at the fish pond collecting roe and getting it shoved into preserves jars, before having a picnic with Penny and the kiddos. After lunch, I caught up with Andy, who is doing some foraging, and then gave Alex a complete breakfast to get another best friend. Up at the train station, I caught up with Susan, and then I ran into Claire out front of Pierre's. She was curious about the aerobics class Caroline holds, and I encouraged her to join even though she doesn't live in town. I finished off Key's Love gift quest by giving a feather to Elliot, then finished off another request by giving Lewis some truffle oil. I made my way to Ginger Island to collect some ripe ancient fruit and purchased the key to the town from Key's shop, and then enjoyed another relaxing island moment with Leo. In the volcano dungeon, I bought the 2 recipes from the level 5 dwarf shop, and finished the day off by collecting some dragon scale boots. I'm still on Ginger Island to start day 174. I picked up the banana pudding recipe from the island trader, and completed the fossilized snake exhibit for Professor Snail, and collected my mango tree and golden walnut reward. Back at Pelican Town, I got that mango tree sapling planted in the greenhouse, then spent the remainder of the day constructing a new tree farm equipped with every possible tree variation in the game. As I was doing my daily duty of digging through everyone's garbage cans, I found some wine in Victor and Olivia's to start off day 175. Speaking of wine, the quarry is overflowing with strawberry wine, so I got that collected and repopulated the kegs with ancient fruit before becoming best friends with Leah. I went back to Ginger Island and found a journal scrap treasure map, then finished the day off with another volcano dungeon run where I found even more dragon scale boots. I kicked off day 176 in Key's Walnut Room selecting the 4 Precious Stones quest, then dug up that treasure spot from the journal scrap I found yesterday. I made my way back to a rainy Pelican Town and gave Claire a birthday present that saw her get to 8 hearts. So I thought now would be the perfect time to let all of you know that Claire was the character the majority of you guys and gals chose for me to marry. Before we do that though, we have to get her up to 10 hearts, and there's no better way to show that we're an ideal mate than being best friends with children like Jazz, and being a cool dude with friends that have a band like Sam and Sebastian. I tried to tell Claire about all my positive traits and why she should like me, but she was too preoccupied dancing at the aerobics class that she decided to join. To show her I was serious, though, I bought a bouquet from Pierre and asked her to be my girlfriend at the best possible place to ask someone in real life, at their place of employment in front of all their coworkers and gawking strangers. After selecting my mate, I made my way to Ginger Island to get a new best friend in the form of Susan. I went back to Pelican Town to accomplish a request from Abigail, buy a couple of recipes from Marlin, and then go into the mines to farm some iron. Day 177 begins by riding the bus to Calico Desert, where I dug up another Stone of Yoba. For those of you curious, I'm only digging up artifact spots in the desert to get the palm fossil, which is 14 times more likely to find than the Stone of Yoba. But alas, I have yet to get one. Annoying artifact spot tangent aside, I spent all day in the Skull Caverns assisted with some magic rock candy, looking for prismatic shards, but I was only able to get one today. I'm in the greenhouse the morning of day 178 collecting ancient fruit and strawberries. And then it's over to the Shed greenhouse, where I got my first round of ancient fruit wine collected before I went back into the desert to do another Skull Cavern dive. Fortunately for me, I got this really large chunk of iridium ore nodes and got not one, but 2 prismatic shards by the time I got them all mined away. Fast forward 9 in-game hours later and almost 70 floors deeper in the Skull Cavern, I found the last prismatic shard I needed for the key quest to end the day. I gathered all the materials I needed to craft myself another iridium band to start day 179, and then I went over to the Shed greenhouse to get some more coffee brewing. I became best friends with Jody by giving her a diamond birthday present, then made my way to Ginger Island, where I got another treasure map journal scrap to get a pearl and another golden walnut. I donated my 4 prismatic shards to Mr. Key and used my winnings to purchase Pierre's missing stock list. I was lucky enough to find the man in question was already on the island, so that made my life super easy. I picked up the banana sapling from the island trader in exchange for 5 dragon teeth, and then I finally managed to get the palm fossil by smashing these bone fragment rocks at the dig site. Up at the volcano dungeon, I had the parrots craft the stone bridge, then made my way to the volcano caldera to combine the iridium band I made this morning with the slime charmer ring. While I was here, I decided to do a volcano dungeon run, and was able to restock my supply of dragon teeth before purchasing and reading the Diamond Hunter skill book, leaving only 3 more special powers for me to collect. The last thing I did today was finish my volcano dungeon run and collect the protection ring from a treasure chest. I'm back in a keg crafting mood to start day 180 by making a whole bunch of those fermentation moneymakers. I got them placed in the Shed greenhouse, collected all the ready coffee, and repopulated the kegs with more beans before getting a +3 fishing buff at the spa. Along with some seafoam pudding, my effective fishing level was up to 17, which made catching the kittyfish child's play. Since I had all these buffs active, I decided to make it a fishing day and go to the highlands. Before I could do any fishing though, I found the dwarf I saved now peddling some decoration items that I'm sure to buy when my farm is complete. I made my way to the diamond cave and caught myself the diamond carp before finishing the day off at the Shed greenhouse collecting and brewing more coffee. Day 181 begins in the kitchen, cooking up well over 50 triple shot espressos that will make collecting all these truffles a breeze. Over at the Shed greenhouse, I started my journey in replacing the star fruit with ancient fruit, and finally started working towards all iridium tools at Clint's. Over at the museum, I got that palm fossil donated and received the complete collection achievement in my 5th star drop of the playthrough. I gave Marnie a diamond and got another friend before selling off a whole bunch of artifacts I've been hoarding. I got my second best friend of the day by giving Sam a cactus flower, and then finished the day off by getting more ancient fruit seeds planted in the Shed greenhouse. Now that we're best friends, Sam invited me to his gig in Zuzu City to start day 182, and Gunther followed shortly behind him to let me know he would be showing off the completed museum to the townspeople. I got my first crop of pumpkins harvested, completed a special request for 80 hardwood from Robin, then bought every brazier recipe that she has on offer before becoming best friends with Marlin over at the Adventurers Guild. I stopped by the museum to check out Elliot's poetry reading, where everyone stayed after to enjoy the completed collection. A rabbit's foot to Gunther saw him reach 10 out of 10 hearts, and then all the coolest dudes and doodads in Pelican Town hopped on a bus to Zuzu City to watch Sam's band rock out. To end the day, I got a bunch of pumpkin seeds purchased and planted, and then took a bus down to Calico Desert to purchase the Warp Totem recipe. As thanks for completing the museum, Gunther mailed me a Galderin gem to start day 183. He said to put it in a crystallarium, so I went ahead and did that, and then I got another round of pumpkins harvested. I became best friends with Olivia by giving her a golden mask, then got another best friend in the shape of Gus over at Pierre's. I swung by Clint's to pick up my copper hoe and put in for the iron watering can upgrade, before going over to the quarry to collect all the ancient fruit wine from my keg farm. That afternoon, I took the bus to Calico Desert to give Sandy a birthday present, then made my way to Ginger Island to harvest some ancient fruit and select another key gem quest. Danger in the Deep 2, Electric Boogaloo. Leo decided that he would move to Pelican Town, and I finally got the slingshot out to get this golden walnut. I purchased the deluxe retaining soil recipe from the island trader, finished the ancient fruit farm at the shed greenhouse, repopulated all of the kegs on the first floor and the quarry, before finishing off the day by planting more pumpkin seeds. As I slept, Leo's parrots transformed the tree next to Linus' house into a comfy bungalow, and I made almost 400,000 G from ancient fruit wine. Speaking of wine, Olivia sent me 5 bottles of it in the mail to start day 184. I'm totally not going to sell that immediately. Over at the greenhouse, I got my first nectarines, persimmons, and pears shook off their respective fruit trees, and then went over to the annual Stardew Valley Fair to show off my wares. Before the winner was announced, I talked to Martin and Claire, and saw that Claire is now up to 10 out of 10 hearts. Of course, ya boy won first prize and successfully gambled all of my winnings to get enough stars to purchase a prize ticket and the prismatic pop recipe. As the sun sets on another Stardew festival, I spent the evening adding more kegs to the greenhouse shed and filled them up with ancient fruit. Day 185 is incredibly short as I spent the entirety of it making progress towards the Danger in the Deep quest. I found this cool headscarf from a Dougie on the 6th floor and made it all the way down to floor 56 before noping the f*** out of there after seeing all of those spiders. I kicked off day 186 by witnessing the saddest thing ever. Sophia getting drenched in the rain, crying her eyes out looking at a gravestone. Over at Clint's, I picked up my iron watering can, then ran down to the beach to purchase the mermaid's pendant. Of course, the best place to propose to your girlfriend is the same place you asked her to be your girlfriend, at her place of work. After getting engaged, I went back to Clint's to upgrade my hoe, then spent the rest of the day in the mines, where I got down to floor 95. I threw a bunch of aged roe into the shipping bin, and then hit the hay, where I got to name a brand new sheep, Crinkle, and watch 82,000 G trickle into my wallet. That money I got last night became super important on day 187, as I was able to purchase my first warp obelisk, the Desert Obelisk. I spent the morning doing some beautification for what will become my glorious warp section of the farm, before running over to the saloon to procure some Grampleton orange chicken, which just so happens to be Sophia's favorite meal in the world. My tree farm is finally starting to mature, so I got some tappers placed on my fully grown trees, then went back down into the mines to finish the day on floor 110. To start off day 188, I went over to Clint's to collect my iron hoe and put in for the gold watering can upgrade, before returning to the mines for a final time to get down to floor 120 and complete Key's quest. I made my way over to Robin's and found her proudly displaying the brand new bed that she crafted, and then joined in on Sam and Sebastian's game of Wizards and Wyverns, where I was able to successfully complete the scenario with an A rating. Over at Key's Walnut Room, I used my key gems I got from the Danger in the Deep quest to pick up recipes for the Heavy Tapper, Deluxe Fertilizer, and Magic Bait, before running over to the Pirate Cove and winning not 1, not 2, but 3 games of darts for 1 golden walnut each. I finished the day off by fishing down at the dig site, hoping for the fossilized spine, but it was not in the cards this evening. Day 189, the 21st day of autumn, is my wedding day, so I'm sure all of you Claire enjoyers are celebrating along with us. Getting the day started in earnest, I collected some pine tar from the tree farm, did my best impression of Jesus Christ at the spa, watched the town ladies and Harvey get their Pilates on, and became best friends with Andy by attending church. That afternoon, I found out that Pierre is trying to step in on my pumpkin fermenting racket, before sailing over to Ginger Island, where I panned up this really cool witch's hat that belongs on the top of my head. It would also appear that this hat is great luck, as I finally got the fossilized spine to finish the day off. Claire made sure to boost my ego about my new hat to start off day 190, where I've got some birch water ready for collecting at the tree farm, and a whole bunch of ancient fruit wine at the shed greenhouse. I decided to press pause on wine for now, and start making more coffee since I just ran out of triple shot espressos. While talking to people at Community Day, I discovered that Sophia had a twin, and I was able to complete an Emily request by providing her with a single apricot. I personally wouldn't play music in the middle of a downpour, but you do you, Abigail. Over at the quarry, I collected even more ancient fruit wine, then made my way to Key's Walnut Room to select another quest, the Skull Cavern Invasion. Up at the dig site, I panned up the fossilized tail, leaving only 2 more items to finish the island field office, and ended the day by making over 500,000 G. I've got some tappers to put on some mature trees to start day 191, and then it's over to the greenhouse shed to collect some coffee and ancient fruit wine, and get the kegs refilled. With all that money I made last night, I invested in another large purchase, the water obelisk. After scaring the daylights out of Maru at work, I ran over to Clint's to collect my golden watering can, and pay for the golden hoe upgrade before running into the Blue Mood Vineyard and seeing Sophia crying in her late parents' bedroom. To cheer her up, we watched Peak Princess Crusaders, an anime series that she really enjoys, and I also paid for her most expensive bottle of wine so that I could give it to Lance at the Adventurers Guild. I spent the evening harvesting some ancient fruit on the island farm, getting all those crops fermenting in the quarry kegs before ending the day by agreeing to a dinner date at my wife's old house that she hasn't sold yet. I spent an embarrassing long amount of time on day 192 trying to catch this prismatic butterfly. But hey, almost 20,000 G is worth a couple of in-game hours. Sophia decided it was finally time to restore her parents' old bedroom, so being the nice guy I am, I agreed to assist her in moving boxes and doing whatever she needed a big strong man to do. I then ended this really short day by taking the bus out to the countryside, walking over to Claire's old house and enjoying a nice little dinner date in her kitchen that apparently still has the gas and power on. Girl, you need to cancel those utilities now that you're living with me. I spent the morning of day 193 over at Andy's house looking at a couple of old pictures that he had of the Aurora Vineyard and the Mouse House when they were actually populated by humans. I got a bunch of resources put in a chest at Andy's so that he could make a cellar, then went over to Sophia's and helped her redecorate her parents' bedroom, which was just the boost I needed to get another best friend. Over at Clint's, I picked up my golden hoe and got the iridium watering can upgrade queued up, and utilizing my brand new desert obelisk, I chopped down some trees and went down to the hard mode skull caverns, where I found myself a galaxy soul to end the day. Sophia gifted me an expensive bottle of wine to start day 194 as thanks for helping her clean up her parents' bedroom. I spent the morning hanging out with her and reading some books in front of the community center, and the only other thing to note that happened today was finding a journal scrap at the volcano dungeon on Ginger Island that led me to collect another golden walnut and the ostrich egg. I've got some pumpkins to harvest to start day 195, and I spent pretty much all day in the skull caverns just killing time until I could go over to the town square and collect my prize ticket for completing the maze at the Spirits Eve Festival. Day 196, the final day of autumn in year 2, begins by scything down my last harvest of pumpkins for the season, then making my way over to Cindersap Forest where it looks like Apples the Junimo and 𝐷𝐵𝐵𝐵 are having a little rendezvous that I'll have to ask about later. Over at Andy's house, I dropped off the last amount of iron bars needed to complete his cellar special request before picking up my iridium watering can at Clint's. I got the iridium hoe upgrade purchased and made my way to the desert. Today was the final day to complete Key's Skull Cavern Invasion quest, so I purchased all the staircases I would need and started making my way down the levels until I reached level 100. I ended the day by crawling into bed, making some money, and watching snow cover the valley. The first day of winter, day 197, begins with Scarlet at my front door, as she officially becomes a valley dweller and giftable NPC. That morning, I fashioned a whole bunch of tree fertilizer and applied it to my growing saplings, before making my way to Galdora, where Isaac is selling some very expensive but very powerful weapons and boots. What I was really here for was to give Lance some aged Blue Moon wine that saw him get up to 8 Hearts of Friendship. I sailed back over to Key's Walnut Room to accept another iteration of the 4 Precious Stones quest. But before I focus on that, I ended the day in the Highlands, collecting a couple of rare monster drop seeds I needed for one of Lance's quests. It's been a long time coming, but I finally upgraded all of my greenhouse sprinklers to iridium quality to kick off day 198. Losing all of these mature coffee plants and ancient fruit stalks is painful, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. That afternoon, I had a brief chat with Pam where she confided in me that she's always wanted to be a pilot, before picking up my iridium hoe at Clint's and buying the final upgrade on my pan. Down in the sewers, I caught 𝐷𝐵𝐵𝐵 chatting with one of his void spirit pals, and speaking of pals, I have a new one in the form of the basement-dwelling Sebastian. Back at the greenhouse, I got all of those monster seeds planted, then received a visit from my friend Apples, who invited me to a party he's hosting at Aurora Vineyard. I got all of the ancient fruit wine collected at the greenhouse shed, got those kegs repopulated, and made a quick trip out to Ginger Island to refresh my ancient fruit stock. I enjoyed a quick bit of stargazing with Maru before finishing the day off by getting my kegs at the quarry emptied and refilled. Ancient fruit wine really is the best. Day 199 begins in the tree farm, tapping all of the trees that have matured overnight thanks to the tree fertilizer, and then it's over to the greenhouse where I've sown another ancient fruit farm. I spent most of the day farming earth crystals from Dougie's in the dangerous mines. I did eventually get all the crystals I needed, but the highlight was seeing this slime drop a prismatic shard. With all those earth crystals I procured today, I purchased my third warp building, the Earth Obelisk, to end the day. I'm up bright and early in the mountains to start day 200. I stumbled into Kent, who is struggling with civilian life, so I suggested he check out the Adventurers Guild and go spelunking with me. I became best friends with Harvey after giving him some coffee, then went over to Clint's to pick up my final iridium tool. So now all I really need is the trash can upgrades, which you know I'm gonna get started on. I went back to the clinic and found Harvey playing with his planes, and got Maru up to 8 hearts after a strawberry gift and a brief chat. The last thing I wanted to do before putting a cap on a monumental 200 days was complete all the Monster Slayer goals. So I warped over to the desert and accomplished the Pepper Rex Slayer goal in this prehistoric floor in the Skull Cavern, hung out with a depressed Alex at the beach, and made my way to Ginger Island, where I had enough golden walnuts to purchase the Parrot Express Island upgrade. I made my way to the volcano dungeon thanks to those parrots, threw on some monster musk, and started slaying as many magma sprites as possible until I accomplished my goal of being the Apex Monster Slayer. While I was there, I found a mummified bat to donate, collected my golden walnut reward, and ended day 200 in the comfort of my island bed. Day 201 begins on Ginger Island, accepting a request for 1 iridium bar from Magnus before running back to Pelican Town to plop down some more kegs in the greenhouse shed. I got some stunted trees fertilized, then made my way up to the train station where I found another stone of Yoba. Up at the summit, I foraged some Stardew Expanded flowers like the Thistle and Winter Star Rose before making my first trip to Scarlet's hometown of Pondwood. Now that Scarlet's a giftable NPC, that's another friend I need to make. I spent the evening at Gus's saloon, initially by having a drink and some chit-chat with Olivia, then drinking in solitude on the house thanks to Emily. I then put a cap on day 201 by planting and watering some powder melon seeds. The morning of day 202 starts at Magnus's tower, completing the request I got yesterday, then running over to Clint's workshop to pick up my copper trash can and making my deposit for the steel trash can. Utilizing the mythical power of the Dewdrop Berry, I spent the remainder of the day in the Skull Cavern looking for prismatic shards for the key quest I picked up a week ago. On floor 35, I broke open a couple of loot barrels and finally found the lucky ring that I've been searching for. The other highlights of this spelunking session are all finding prismatic shards. I found one on floor 53, another on floor 90, and then the third and final prismatic shard I needed on floor 94 to end the day. I got the ice fishing competition reminder letter to start day 203, which is super important considering I forgot to attend it last year. I spent the morning getting my heavy smelters fired up with ore from yesterday's mining session, then decided to return jade to my crystallariums since those Galderin gems have no purpose outside the fact that they're expensive. I dropped off the 4 prismatic shards I've collected to complete Key's quest, and then purchased the bluegrass starter recipe as my reward. Pierre was soaking up some rays at the island resort before being added to my list of best friends, and then I went up to the volcano caldera to forge my burglar's ring and lucky ring together. Over at Calico Desert, I chopped down some trees before running into Abigail, who's just chilling at the cemetery. Gus got himself a lobster to complete a quest, then I finished the day by crafting almost 3 dozen kegs and expanding my keg farm in the quarry. As I went to rest my eyes for the evening, Claire asked if we should have a kid, and of course, I said yes so I could get the full house achievement. An outfit change is required after I dug up this artifact spot revealing a toga to start day 204. A handful of monster crops are ready for harvest, so that Voidroo is plucked up before I ran over to Aurora Vineyard to attend Apple's party, which he had to cancel since no one showed up. But as soon as I left, it looked like some attendees had arrived in the form of a bear. I went back to Calico Desert and picked up another best friend by giving Sandy a daffodil, then headed on down to Cindersap Forest to start the ice fishing competition. With 6 stinky fish in my pockets, I got myself the W and picked up the chocolate truffle bar recipe from the traveling trader to end the day. Day 205 is a wine day, so I spent the morning harvesting some ancient fruit in the shed greenhouse before taking a break with Susan, enjoying some hot cocoa. As I was leaving, I ran into Alex having a nice jaunt up to the train station, then ran down to the special requests board to accept Sophia's fairy garden quest, which is quite the doozy, especially on the 9th day of winter. I ran over to Clint's to pick up my steel trash can, then took the boat over to Key's Walnut Room to accept another iteration of the Skull Cavern Invasion quest. Back in Pelican Town, I collected the readied ancient fruit wine and repopulated the kegs at the quarry, then finished the day off at the tree farm, slapping on some tappers. I kicked off day 206 in the Forbidden Maze, starting the long journey of befriending the Goblin Henchman. Over at Clint's, I got him working on the Golden Trash Can upgrade, picked up an albacore from Krobus, then played a co-op game of Prairie King with Abigail at the saloon. I gave Gus that albacore to complete a quest, then went over to Marnie's to purchase more animals, starting with 2 rabbits named Shrinker and Tinker, then my first ever blue chicken, who's aptly named Bluey. I checked in on our newest farm members, then spent the remainder of the day doing an uneventful Skull Caverns run. The bookseller is in town on day 207, so I picked up the Queen of Sauce cookbook and learned 3 recipes, so I essentially spent 16,000 G per recipe, so that's fun for me. Over at the greenhouse, I picked up some salal berries and slime berries, then went down to talk to Krobus and pick up another new best friend. With everyone's favorite shadowy boy at 10 hearts, I was able to purchase another recipe for a Void Delight. I grabbed some aged wine from the Blue Moon Vineyard, then went to Skull Cavern to utilize a Dewdrop Berry plus the alcohol to have a +9 luck buff, which resulted in a pretty disappointing dive considering all those resources I used. I gave Claire an energy tonic to start day 208, and my gift in return was the 6th and penultimate star drop to raise my energy another 34 points. After chopping down some lumber in the Calico Desert, I made my way over to Pierre's to purchase 60 fairy seeds before running over to the cavern in the Highlands to search for some natural fairy stones. I got 50 of those seeds and 1 stone dropped in Sophia's chest, then went over to the greenhouse to replace the salal bushes with those fairy seeds to make the fairy dust needed for Sophia's quest. I finished the day off at Ginger Island, first getting the reaching perk on my watering can, then putting a cap on the day by collecting some taro root and golden walnuts. Willie sent me a request for a lean cod in the mail to start day 209, and the day begins in earnest by shaking down my first crop of bananas in the greenhouse. Over at Clint's, I picked up my golden trash can and got him working on the final iridium upgrade, before cracking open some geodes in the hopes of grabbing more fairy stones. After checking out Andy's finished cellar, he gave me his special strawberry jam recipe that increases strawberry sale price by 25%. And then I spent the remainder of the day making some void mayonnaise and setting up a spot for a workbench crafting area. I finally started making some headway with the raccoons to start day 210 by giving him a handful of crawfish before getting some very cute cutscenes about Leo's fabulous new life in Pelican Town. I got electrocuted by Maru's robot, purchased the workbench from Robin, then got the final house upgrade paid for. That afternoon, I went down to Calico Desert to purchase a bunch of staircases and started making my way down through the Skull Cavern to complete Key's Invasion quest. I got another auto petter on a treasure floor, ran into this mega slime on floor 52 that dropped 2 galaxy souls, and used my remaining staircases to make it all the way down to floor 100 and complete the quest. I got that auto petter plopped down in the barn, purchased another auto grabber from Marnie and got that placed down, before running over to the Adventurers Guild to purchase the Galaxy Hammer to end the day. On day 211, I became best friends with the local bird boy, then watched on as a dog off its leash whipped the citizens of Pinewood into a frenzy. I made another new friend over at Jody's by giving Kent a rabbit's foot, accepted Linus's community cleanup special request, and ran down to the night market traveling trader and grabbed myself a cool new hat. The remainder of the day was spent at level 100 in the mines, fishing up as much trash as I could. I began day 212 at the workbench, crafting over a dozen new kegs, before running over to day 2 of the night market to catch a red mullet for the raccoon. I made my way over to Ginger Island to harvest some ancient fruit, then made the massive mistake of accepting the Junimo Cart key quest. I grabbed the hopper crafting recipe and exchanged some walnuts for key gems, and finished my time on Ginger Island by fusing my newly purchased hammer with 3 galaxy souls to get the Infinity Gavel and Infinite Power achievement. Tuesdays are kegging days, so I spent the evening expanding my keg farm, getting a bunch of ancient fruit fermenting, then made my way to the saloon to play some Junimo Kart. No, it was right there! I was right there, dude. That was the win. As you can tell by the pained and frankly pitiful tone of my voice, I was straight up not having a good time. I played Junimo Kart for about 1 hour and could not get 50,000 points, so if you value your sanity, don't play Junimo Kart. Robin finished the third house upgrade overnight, so I start day 213 in my new cellar, which I'm actually going to use this time around. Today I realized that I sowed the wrong seed for Lance's monster crop quest, so I got the fungus seed planted with some hyper speed grow, then ran over to the raccoon to give him the red mullet I smoked overnight to complete my first bundle with him. Over in the secret woods, I brought some maple syrup for my bear friend, ran over to Clint's to pick up my iridium trash can, then became best friends with Abigail at the library. I found Apples and Peaches doing some type of friendship ritual, and spent the remainder of the day at the volcano dungeon collecting dragon teeth. It looks like Shane is my secret friend for this year's Feast of the Winter Star, and I get day 214 started by running over to the Highland Cavern to find some more fairy stones. I got the final stones I needed deposited into Sophia's chest, then ran down to floor 100 of the mines to fish up all the trash I needed to complete Linus' community cleanup special request. I spent the remainder of the day attempting and failing to get 50,000 points in Jinimo Cart, which is slowly driving me insane. I've got the recipe for fiber seeds and a gold bar in my mailbox to start day 215, and then it's over to Gus's saloon to complete a quest by giving him one coconut. As I attempted to go into Marnie's, the bear let me know that a premium barn would allow me to adopt some of his friends as part of my farm family. But that's a quest for another day, as the end of day 215 is earmarked for getting the artful enchant on my infinity gavel. Martin sent me some mail to start day 216 that has the grilled cheese recipe inside of it. My second crop of monster fruit are ready to be side down in the greenhouse, then I finally decided to finish Willie's request for the lingcod by catching it up and gifting it to our sailor friend. I found Linus enjoying a quick cold plunge at the mountain lake before running over to the Crimson Badlands, where I found this quarry filled to the brim with iridium nodes, teeming with dangerous monsters. What I was really looking for was further south, guarded by another group of strong monsters. This neat treasure cave that an eerie voice praised me for finding. I ended the day here by shoving a prismatic shard in the large chest and getting the galaxy slingshot. Marlin woke me up to start day 217 to invite me to a very important meeting at the Adventurers Guild, which I'll attend some other day. At the greenhouse, I shook off the final banana I needed to run over to Magnus's house and purchase the last obelisk on offer, the Island Obelisk. Up at the mines, I became best friends with the dwarf, then ran down to the library where I learned that Martin is adopted. To finish the day off, I chopped down some trees at Calico Desert and got all my heavy smelters working on some copper, iron, and iridium. As I went to sleep, Claire gave birth to a baby girl that I named Blair. I picked up the cheese charcuterie board recipe from Scarlet to start day 218, then it's over to the workbench to craft the final batch of fairy dust I needed for Sophia's quest. After a gift of starfruit and a quick chat, I became best friends with Apples the Junimo and celebrated our friendship by jumping around in the forest. After doing another little bit of exploring, I found the Bear's Cave, where I purchased a couple recipes I've been looking for before running over to Sophia's to deposit the fairy dust and complete her special request. Back at Aurora Vineyard, I watched what I can only describe as a cult initiation for Apples and Peaches that granted me an extra 10% profit on all starfruits I sell. I still need the Geocrusher crafting recipe, so I accepted Clint's Cave Patrol quest, then slapped some bass on the floor at Jody's house. I finished the day off by finishing Clint's quest and killing these mushroom sprites in the mines. Thanks to my monster killing prowess, I got the Geode Crusher recipe in the mail to start day 219, which is a Tuesday. So you know I'm harvesting ancient fruit and making more kegs. I utilized my island warp totem for the first time, gifted the jungle gorilla with a delicious banana for a handful of golden walnuts, before checking out my perfection progress. Over at the quarry, I expanded my keg farm, started collecting all the wine, and got the kegs refilled before spending a whole bunch of time and resources at the workbench, taking a massive step to perfection by crafting close to 75 new items. To finish off the day, I decided to finally attend Marlin's meeting, where he sent me on another quest to kill 3 legendary monsters: the purple mushroom crab, the golden slime, and the diamond sand scorpion. To start day 220, Apples was at my door asking if he should restore the vineyard for me, or if he should keep it as his house. And since I really don't need another plot of land, I decided to let Apples and Peaches keep it as their home. The raccoon was asking for cherry jelly, and since I don't have a cherry tree matured, I got a sapling purchase from Pierre's and plopped it down in the greenhouse before running up to Robin's to purchase a couple of house extensions. Over at Calico Desert, I did a bit of deforestation, then made my way to Ginger Island where I finally found a golden coconut. I spent the remainder of this day in the highlands, unsuccessfully looking for the golden slime. Day 221 begins in the greenhouse where the monster mushroom is finally ready for harvest. That was the last crop I needed for Lance's quest, so I checked his schedule and made my way to Ginger Island to drop off all 4 crops. Today is highlighted by the Feast of the Winter Star, so I gave Shane his favorite thing in the world, and something that you probably shouldn't give to a recovering alcoholic, some beer. My secret gifter was Vincent, and he gave me some clay that I'm sure he just found digging around town with his grubby little paws. Lance woke me up on day 222, letting me know to join him at Ginger Island at my earliest convenience. Well, it's convenient for me now, so I used the obelisk to warp over to the island, where I followed Lance to a super secret jungle warp point that took us to the final new Stardew Expanded location, the Fabled Reef. Unfortunately, I'm not able to visit this place on my own just yet, so I ran back to Pelican Town to crack open the golden coconut I got a few days back to reveal a golden walnut. But more importantly, I'm finally able to exchange regular coconuts for golden coconuts at the Island Trader. Over at the Highlands region, I finally found the rare golden slime monster, which has a butt-ton of HP to chew through, but I was able to dispatch the beast and collect its golden slime egg. I hand-delivered it to Marlin, then went over to Galdora, where I was also able to find and dispatch the Diamond Sand Scorpion, which drops the magic lamp. That battle lasted so long that I passed out in the Crimson Badlands to end the day. Magnus was at my door to start day 223 to let me know I can use his warp to go to Fable Reef anytime I want. Over at Clint's, I got the fossilized skull from some golden coconuts, along with a new golden coconut hat to wear. I dropped off that magic lamp with Marlin before making my way to the Forbidden Maze to locate and eliminate the purple mushroom crab and collect the mega purple mushroom. With that last monster drop donated to Marlin, I completed his quest and took my first solo trip to Fable Reef, where I caught a new Stardew Expanded fish, the torpedo trout. To finish the day off, I finished Professor Snail's island field office and collected the ostrich incubator. I had 2 visitors the morning of day 224, the final day of year 2. Isaac let me know that he had a reward waiting at the Galderan outpost, and then Lance stopped by explaining he also had a reward for me at the Highlands. While I was relaxing at my farm spot, I got the +3 fishing buff, which is begging me to go to Fable Reef, pop a seafoam pudding, and start fishing up some new fish. This morning, I caught the arrowhead shark, the viper eel, and the daggerfish, before running over to the Galderan outpost to collect my rewards. The monster splitter greatsword, and the heavy shield, both of which have some crazy stats. Over at the Highlands, I collected Lance's reward, the diamond wand, which in my opinion isn't as cool as the monster splitter since this thing does almost 1,300 damage on a critical hit. I spent the remainder of this final day of winter fishing at the Fabled Reef before going to bed, where Grandpa visited my dreams thanking me for taking care of his farm. The first day of spring and the first day of year 3 begins as Grandpa's 4 candles light up to start day 225. I spent the morning preparing the crop field by tilling out all the spaces that I'll be planting seeds in, then ran into Emily and Sandy hanging out at the town square. I grabbed a bunch of seeds from Pierre's, accepted Evelyn's gifts for George's special request, then got all of those newly purchased seeds sown and watered. That evening, Krobus stopped by to invite me to a meeting of the minds in the sewers, and then I finished the day by making progress towards the shipping list. Day 226 begins with Claire and I making plans to take a nice long walk this weekend, before I checked on my shipping list progress, which is definitely not where I want it to be. So I spent the morning shipping off a bunch of hoarded items, then popped over to Ginger Island to harvest some ancient fruit. I enjoyed a moment of peace with Linus at the mountain lake, then completed my weekly Tuesday goal of collecting wine and kegging ancient fruit. Over at Cindersap Forest, I got the Spring Onion Mastery perk thanks to Vincent and Jas, then paid a visit to Scarlet and Andy at Fairhaven Farm. I made my way deeper into the forest and collected some leeks for George, then went over to the Highlands, where these large slimes drop even more leeks. I very creepily listened to Alex pump iron for a couple of seconds, dropped off all of those leeks for Evelyn, and then went down to the sewers where I was tasked to collect 60 void souls for the shadow people. Magnus woke me up on day 227 to let me know he is starting a mentorship program with a young wizard named Morgan, who I'll get to meet tomorrow. More importantly though, Evelyn sent me a coffee maker in the mail to thank me for completing her request. I have 5 dozen void souls to collect, so I took a trip to Galdora to get started on that, and then I spent the evening unsuccessfully trying to catch the last fish I needed to complete the collection. I took a quick dip in my farm spot to start day 228, and the +3 fishing buff begged me to head over to the Fabled Reef again. Combined with a dish of the sea, my fishing level being at 15 gave me just enough of a reel-in zone to catch this legendary fish, the turret fish, the final fish I needed to get the Master Angler achievement. I took a lunch break with the goblin in the Forbidden Maze, warped over to the Volcano dungeon to collect some cinder shards, and attempted to get the Artful enchantment on my greatsword, but looks like I'll have to try again. Over at Magnus's Tower, I introduced myself to the 48th and final giftable character in Stardew Expanded, Morgan, the wizard in training who, funnily enough, will accept gifts while they're sleeping. The morning of day 229 is spent with Claire as we take a lovely stroll through all the nooks and crannies of Pelican Town. I started the day in earnest at the mailbox by consuming a star drop from Willy for catching every single fish in the game. That was the 7th and final star drop, so now I have officially reached maximum stamina. I met back up with the goblin this afternoon where he gave me a step-by-step guide on how to craft a marsh tonic. Back on the farm, I harvested some ripe garlic cloves, then started placing ingredients in the fridge for my massive cooking session that's coming up soon. I finally got the ostrich incubator crafted and populated in the barn, then ran down to the traveling trader to purchase the Claire portrait. Over at Pierre's, I grabbed all the sugar, flour, oil, rice, and vinegar I'll need for every single recipe, then crafted and plopped down some butter makers in the machine section. I finished the day off by making my way over to Pondwood to assist Scarlet in her cosplay costume construction. Day 230 begins by collecting some periwinkles and crayfish from the crab pots on the farm, emptying the tappers of all their resources, then warping over to Ginger Island to slap some hyper seed grow on some crops that I need for recipes and the polyculture achievement. I spent the remainder of this very short day fishing at the Secret Woods, catching a bunch of carp for more recipes. My potatoes are ready for harvest to start day 231, so I get those scythed down before running up to the summit to collect the Ferngill Primrose. I repopulated my crop field with mixed seeds, grabbed some mead from the traveling merchant, then spent the remainder of another short day fishing with magic bait trying to catch a squid, to no avail. I got some carrots collected the morning of day 232, which was mostly another fishing day, where I used more magic bait to catch a rainbow trout, a salmon, and a sea cucumber, all of which will be utilized for recipes. While doing some panning at the mountain lake, I collected another lucky ring, then finished the day up by fishing up a frog. Day 233 is a Tuesday, so after I collected some parsnips, I created a dozen kegs and spent most of the day collecting and fermenting ancient fruit wine. The only real highlight from another short day was becoming best friends with Scarlet, leaving only Martin, the goblin henchman, and Morgan to befriend. Speaking of Scarlet, Sophia woke me up on day 234 to let me know that the aforementioned farmhand is bringing down her dad's truck to do a day trip to the Grampleton coast. So I went down to the ocean and finally managed to catch that squid, watched Morgan do a spot-on impression of Magnus, then made my way to the Blue Moon Vineyard. Sophia, Scarlet, and I jumped in the truck and took the highway to the Grampleton coast and enjoyed the view from the lighthouse. Over at Ginger Island, I got some tomatoes planted and fertilized with speed grow, before planting some fall forageable seeds to get more blackberries for some recipes. I finished the day off in the Crimson Badlands, collecting void souls for Crocus. Sophia woke me up for the second day in a row on day 235, this time thanking me for her fairy garden. My reward for completing that request is the ability to purchase iridium sprinklers and nozzles from her ledger. This morning, Morgan sent me some mail containing the final recipe I needed to complete my book, the glazed pear. I got the day started by collecting some green beans in the crop field before making another large donation to the shipping bin for the polyculture achievement. Over at Pierre's, I grabbed all the seeds needed to finish off that achievement, then ran up to Robin's to purchase the premium barn. I warped over to Ginger Island to get all those crop seeds planted, grabbed some rhubarb seeds from Sandy at the Oasis, and did some wood collection while I was at the Calico Desert. I finished the day off in the crop field getting those 15 rhubarb seeds planted. Day 236 begins in the red-tinged Crimson Badlands collecting void souls. Today is pretty short though, as I spent the entirety of it in the Skull Caverns doing an unremarkable mining session just looking for copper, iron, and iridium for more kegs. The Egg Festival headlines day 237, so I spent the morning harvesting some cauliflower, doing my daily void soul collecting, then ran down to the town square to purchase some strawberry seeds and take another L in the egg hunt competition, courtesy of Abigail. Day 238 is another day that begins in Galdora collecting void souls for Krobus, before picking up Pierre's Prime Produce special request. I warped over to Ginger Island to collect some salal berries, red cabbage, and pumpkins to find a golden walnut, the 130th and final one, according to the Perfection Tracker. Back at Pelican Town, I got some cheese fermenting, then made my way to the kitchen to start cooking up half a dozen prerequisite recipes that got me the Cook achievement. Utilizing some fairy dust, I collected a little bit of mystic syrup and truffle oil so that I could craft the treasure totem and rain totem, then ended the day by shipping off some stuff to progress the shipping list. A couple of mixed seeds revealed some harvestable potatoes to start off day 239. I checked in on the goblin in the Forbidden Maze, who seems to be doing a better job coping with his unemployment, but I was really here to look for the rare purple mushroom crab, but he was too sneaky for me to find today. The Calico Desert Festival was in session, so I let Emily give me a makeover, selected the Deep Dive quest, and got into the Skull Cavern, where I spent the remainder of the day completing that request and finding calico eggs. Another Tuesday means day 240 is spent collecting more ancient fruit wine, where I accidentally shook a bush revealing salmon berries. This was a stroke of tremendous luck, since I didn't know today was a salmonberry day, and I needed a bunch of them for the shipping list and recipes. I got some ancient fruit harvested in the greenhouse, and then made my way to a rainy Ginger Island to collect some ripe crops for the polyculture achievement, along with some fall forageables. Back in Pelican Town, I crafted some kegs and got them filled up with fresh fruit before running over to Marnie's to purchase some new animals for my newly constructed premium barn. I adopted 2 bears named Care and Share, and 2 camels named Samuel and Pamuel. I finished the day off in the Crimson Badlands collecting more void souls. I woke up on day 241 to the Legend achievement for making 10 million G. In the crop field, I side down a couple of green beans and cucumbers, then was alerted to the fact that my ostrich egg wouldn't hatch in the deluxe barn. So I re-incubated in the premium barn, then went over to Pierre's to drop off 25 gold quality parsnips. Emily gave me a fisherman fit for the final day of the Desert Festival, where I once again spent the entire day mining to get enough calico eggs to purchase the magic rock candy to end the day. As a reward for making 10 million G, Mr. Key sent me a commemorative golden piggy bank on day 242. A bunch of mixed flower seeds have revealed some blue jazzes ready for harvest, before doing another round of void soul collecting in Galdora, which I'm proud to say got me the 60 I needed. I warped over to Ginger Island to collect another round of tomatoes and red cabbages that subsequently got dumped into the shipping bin, then it's down to the sewers, where Krobus finally got his 60 void souls. I crafted the Hero Elixir and Marsh Tonic at the workbench, then got another silo purchased up at Robin's. I populated a newly crafted loom machine with some camel wool, then ended the day by doing some iron ore farming in the mines. Some mixed cauliflower seeds are ready for plucking on day 243, and some cheese and yarn are ready for collection as well. Over at Ginger Island, I got more tomatoes harvested for recipes, then got a start on my afternoon by playing some hide and seek with Morgan, Vincent, and Jas. The Traveling Merchant has the Junimo and Retro catalogs in stock, so I got those purchased before heading back to the Crimson Badlands to collect void souls for the other elixir recipes, along with utilizing some bombs to grab a Stardew Expanded shipping list item that only drops from fallen adventurers, the Rusty Blade. I spent that evening running around various Stardew Expanded locations picking up rare forageables to sell, and ending the day in the Forbidden Maze where I still couldn't locate that rare purple mushroom crab. After doing all the shipping over the last couple days, I've only got 14 more items to sell on day 244, and 3 of those items require the purchase of a premium coop. Over in the Highlands, I found 2 more shipping list items. The first is a monster drop by an exclusively rainy day green mushroom found at the ruins, and the second is the golden slime egg from the ever-elusive golden slime mini-boss. Back in the Forbidden Maze, I finally found the purple mushroom crab, and was able to dispatch him to grab another rare shipping list item. Just as I was about to go to bed, Krobus arrived at my house to invite me over to the mines to see what all those void souls will be used for, but that's an adventure for another day. Some ripe strawberries are ready for scything down on day 245. Over at Ginger Island, I plucked up some fall forageables and corn, then went back to the workbench to craft the Haste Elixir and the Armor Elixir. before running up to the mines to watch all those void souls I collected be consumed by a shadow shaman to rescue a bunch of young shadow people. To thank me for my efforts, these shadow mobs throughout the valley will no longer attack me. While I was at the mines, I decided to just end the day by doing some iron ore farming. To start off day 246, I collected some green tea leaves and got that brewing before using all that iron I got last night to craft the anvil. I witnessed Pierre trying to exploit the local townspeople, picked up Willie's tropical fish quest, and spent the remainder of the day catching stingray at the Pirates Cove and blue discus right next to my island house. As an apology for being a total dick to the townspeople, Pierre sent me a mini shipping bin on day 247, which is a Tuesday, so you know what that means. I'm harvesting ancient fruit and crafting kegs. On my way to the quarry, I became best friends with Martin, the local orphan boy, then finally made it to the keg farm to get some wine collected and ancient fruit deposited. To finish the day off, my new ostrich friend Oscar was welcomed to the family. I got a bunch of rhubarb ready for harvest on day 248, and in the greenhouse, my cherry tree has finally borne fruit. As today was the flower festival, I did a little dance with Claire in the cindersap forest, then finished off a short festival day by getting some apricots dehydrating and that cherry crop turned into jelly. One final crop of strawberries are sized down to start day 249. I watched Morgan get peer pressured by Vincent and Jas to do some magic in the cindersap forest, then went down to Marnie's to purchase a new animal now that my premium barn is built, the goose. I adopted 3 geese named Honk, Bonk, and Wonk before running over to Ginger Island to harvest more blackberries. I picked up the dried apricot and replaced them with some grapes, then started my massive cooking session, starting with 15 recipes to get the sous chef achievement, and then cooking almost 80 more recipes to take a massive step towards the gourmet chef achievement. 2 of the last 3 ingredients I needed were some shrimp and a midnight carp. So I got a bunch of crab pots equipped with bait in the ocean, and then used some magic bait to catch that carp at the Cindersap Lake. With that, I ended the day by creating the sea foam pudding recipe, marking 105 of the 107 recipes complete. On day 250, I collected and sold off a cherry for the shipping list, went down to the beach to collect the shrimp I needed, and then went over to Ginger Island. I completed Willie's tropical fish request by catching the lionfish, harvested and sold off some red cabbage, then went back home and cooked up the shrimp cocktail recipe. Over at Sophia's, I picked up 3 pressure nozzles, warped back to Ginger Island to pick up 8 more in Key's walnut room, and then utilized those to add some more space for ancient fruit at the shed greenhouse. Those red cabbages I sold yesterday got me the polyculture achievement to kick off day 251. Willie sent me the deluxe fish tank in the mail, then I completed another raccoon bundle and got the raccoon journal, which increases the likelihood of me getting mixed seeds from weeds. But more importantly, this book got me the well-read achievement. I decided that today was going to be spent reorganizing my farmland by retrofitting the sprinklers with pressure nozzles, expanding the watering radius to 48 crops each. I picked up where I left off on day 252 in the last day of spring in the greenhouse, further optimizing my ancient fruit growth with pressure nozzles, before stopping by Magnus's tower to read with Morgan. I spent the remainder of the day on Ginger Island, reorganizing the crop field over here since it's definitely not optimized. Day 253, the first day of summer in year 3, begins on Ginger Island, collecting monster mushrooms for the shipping list and reorganizing the weathered floor pathing. Back in Pelican Town, I got some summer seeds purchased at Pierre's, scythed down all of the dead spring plants, and got those seeds sown before finishing the day back on Ginger Island harvesting some ripe taro root. Another kegging Tuesday arrives on day 254, so I spent the morning collecting oak resin, harvesting ancient fruit in the greenhouse, and getting all the kegs fermenting, while simultaneously collecting the lucrative ancient fruit wine. I finally finished reorganizing my sprinklers on Ginger Island, so I spent the evening putting down some weathered flooring before going home, where my blissful sleep was interrupted by the goblin henchman asking me to come visit him tomorrow. Back at Ginger Island, I spent the morning of day 255 planting some pineapple seeds and enjoying my newly optimized ancient fruit farm, before running over to the Secret Woods, where I finally managed to unearth the ancient fern seed. I got that planted with some hyperspeed grow ASAP since the ancient fiber was one of the few things missing from my shipping list. I made my way to the Forbidden Maze and followed the henchman as he clipped through my chest full of void mayonnaise to find his tribute to his former employer, a little section behind his house with 5 shrines that do various interesting things throughout the valley or give me some valuable items. I didn't have much else to do today, so I spent the remainder of the day down in the Skull Caverns looking for coal, copper, and iron. I found Claire at the mailbox early in the morning on day 256, where she received a letter that she has been cast as the lead in a film. Good job, Claire. Proud of you. That morning, I picked up my first round of goose eggs in the premium barn before running over to the Calico Desert to exchange some rubies for spicy eel to use as speed boosts. Over at the Volcano Dungeon, I found the final journal scrap, finishing the secret notes tab, before running up to the forge to combine my greatsword with a bunch of emeralds and a prismatic shard to finally get the artful enchantment to end the day. The traveling trader had the Joja catalog in stock, so I picked that up to start day 257. I had some leftover oak resin laying around, so I made 15 more kegs and got my wine farm expanded in the quarry before running over to Pierre's to purchase a bunch of deluxe speed grow for all the replanted ancient fruit on the Ginger Island farm. To 100% the expanded mod, it is absolutely necessary that I purchase and fill up the winery, and for that I'm going to need a lot of wood and a lot of kegs. So I spent the rest of the day in the Calico Desert chopping down a whole litany of pine trees and replacing the space with oak seeds that will get tapped once they're mature. I'm back in Calico Desert to start day 258, exchanging diamonds for a bunch of triple shot espressos, activating the Shrine of Challenge, then spending the entire day looking for prismatic shards to do more tool enchants. I managed to find a couple of the rainbow mineral miracles, and even made it all the way down to floor 100 without using staircases. I kicked off day 259 by getting some copper and iron ore refining in the heavy smelters, before utilizing my personal forge on the farm to get the generous perk on my iridium pan. I've collected a lot of golden animal crackers that I've gone unused, so I got those fed to my geese, then ran over to the raccoon to complete another one of his bundles. I got a hat as a reward, so I changed my fit up a little bit, and finally got myself a dresser from one of the mini catalogs I have now, and got all my clothes, hats, and rings put inside. Following up on my word to use the basement this time around, I crafted some casks and made a solid chunk of progress getting the basement turned into a wine aging room. I finished the day off in Calico Desert, making another tree farm since I'm definitely going to need more wood. Day 260 begins by running over to the premium barn and welcoming an ostrich named Joseph to the family. Over in the secret woods, I collected the last ingredient needed to complete the cooking list, red bane berries. With those berries in my pocket, I ran straight to the kitchen to whip up some mushroom berry rice and grabbed myself the Gourmet Chef achievement by cooking up all 107 recipes. I went over to my workbench to craft the final cask I needed to fill out the basement before making my way to Marnie's to purchase 6 more geese named Plonk, Clonk, Zonk, Conk, Kronk, and Flonk. I got Lewis's crop order special request accepted, grabbed a bunch of deluxe speed grow at Pierre's, and fertilized all my blueberries with it so I could finish Lewis's request in double time, before finishing the day in the hard mode Skull Caverns collecting a bunch of ore. On Tuesdays, we make money, and day 261 is no different from any other Tuesday, as I'm harvesting ancient fruit, crafting kegs, and getting them filled up. The only added variable this time is getting 110 bottles of wine aging in some casks in the basement. Over in Calico Desert, I got some tree fertilizer on all the budding oak trees, before spending the rest of the day in the hard mode Skull Caverns collecting more ore. 144 red cabbages are ready to harvest on day 262. I then went over to Pierre's and purchased some melon seeds to replace those freshly harvested cabbages, and then finished this short day by doing another hard mode Skull Cavern dive. I collected a couple of golden animal crackers yesterday, so I spent the morning of day 263 feeding them to my geese before harvesting and selling off the ancient fiber. Now that I have a lot of time on my hands, farm beautification is becoming a priority. Starting by making a flower honey row at the machine section with some garden pots and some deluxe retaining soil, and then it's over to the Stardew Luau. My donation to this soup this year was an iridium truffle, which the mayor and town folks went crazy for. My blueberries have ripened to start day 264, so I got them harvested and shipped off to complete Lewis's special request before warping over to the desert to slap a couple of tappers on some newly matured oak trees. While I was here, I collected a whole bunch of lumber by chopping down some pine trees, and then went over to the mines where I refreshed floor 15 over and over to farm earth crystals, an imperative ingredient for mayonnaise makers, of which I need only one more to finish my collection. Lewis sent me another mini shipping bin to start off day 265 for completing his request before I got all these ripe melons side down. I got the replacement seeds purchased at Pierre's, stopped by Magnus's tower to watch Morgan transmute some iron into gold, and then finally became best friends with the goblin henchman in the Forbidden Maze. I got all those melon seeds replanted in the fresh soil, collected the final earth crystal I needed from the Duggies, then crafted and placed down the final mayo maker in the machine section. To put a cap on the day, I went over to the Volcano Forge and finally got the shaving enchantment on my iridium axe. The green rain reared its ugly head on day 266, so I spent the morning clearing my farmland of all the mossy weeds. One thing that I felt I had to do to 100% Stardew Expanded was get as deep in the dangerous skull caverns as I possibly could. So I made my way to the Desert Trader and bought 335 staircases to use on a great luck day in the future as I prepared to make my mega dive. I got a bunch of newly matured oak trees tapped before doing another skull cavern run, where I found myself an auto petter, which I don't need anymore. I began day 267 at the Farm Forge, grabbing the Archaeologist enchantment for my iridium hoe. I got a whole litany of ore cooking in the heavy smelters, accepted Olivia's elegant reception special request, and made some good progress on that request by donating some hoarded cheese. Over at the Blue Moon Vineyard, I purchased some aged Blue Moon wine for my Mega Skull Cavern dive, and picked up the Infinity Crown at the Mouse House to change up my fit a little bit. The rest of the day was spent in Cindersap Forest, chopping down trees and collecting lumber. Another round of blueberries are ready for scything down to start day 268, another Tuesday. So I'm collecting some oak resin, crafting some kegs, and harvesting some ancient fruit, before dropping by Olivia's to complete her special request. I got all my fruit fermenting in kegs, and ran over to Calico Desert to do a quick cavern dive to end the day. Day 269 was the perfect day for my mega cavern dive. So I warped over to the desert, consumed the aged Blue Moon wine and a delicious rock candy, and used every last staircase, which took about 6 hours to get through, to get 330 floors deep. I spent the remaining 10 in-game hours getting down another 75 floors, culminating in my deepest ever dive into Skull Caverns, 411 floors. Not including the guaranteed treasure floors on floor 100, 200, and 300, I got close to 24 treasure floors and had a pretty decent haul to end the day. Another ostrich friend was welcomed to the farm on day 270, and I named him Patrick. Over at the town square, Olivia's wine and cheese banquet is going over gangbusters with the townsfolk, and my reward is increased health and stamina regen when drinking wine. The last shipping list item I need is a golden goose egg, of which there is a 1% chance of getting every time an egg is produced. So to increase my odds, I bought 7 more geese. I named these 7 geese Shock, Rock, Sock, Bok, Chonk, Tonk, and Kadonk. I also fed them some golden animal crackers to further increase my odds, and spent the rest of the day in the skull cavern searching for more crackers. On day 271, I collected my first batch of flower-flavored honey, and then decided to make the leap and sell off a bunch of hoarded goods, including ancient fruit, honey jars, camel wool, and various other produce. Over at the Traveling Merchant, I finally became best friends with Magnus's pupil, Morgan, officially completing a massive portion of the perfection requirements by reaching max affection with all 48 giftable NPCs. To finish the day off, I crafted a bunch of garden pots, stopped by Pierre's to get some fairy seeds, and got both of those placed down and fertilized with hyperspeed grow in the greenhouse. As I slept, over 2 million G flooded into my account. I needed that 2 million G so that I had 10 million in my account on day 272, where Morgan knocked on my door that morning to invite me to their final wizard test. I got some blueberries side down in the crop field, then got a super special area of the farm prepared for the largest purchase you can make in the game, the infamous golden clock. I decided to move my greenhouse further west and spent the entire day doing some pathing with weathered floors, finishing a raccoon bundle by donating some pickled squash, and then finishing the day by adding some fencing now that the golden clock ensures they won't deteriorate. Day 273 begins in the Cindersap Forest, where Morgan shows off their deep connection to nature and passes the test. My support for Morgan's growth as a wizard resulted in an increase in quality for my animal produce. The rest of the day was spent doing some farm beautification. I colored all of the farm buildings at Robin's, added even more fences to my paths, and altered the design of my golden clock shrine before bed. I got a penultimate harvest of melons collected the morning of day 274, before running over to the town square to accept Demetrius's aquatic overpopulation request. I greeted Claire as she arrived back in town from a day of filming, then ran down to collect the various statues you can find behind the community center and Lewis's house respectively. To finish the day off, I got all the neat statues I've collected placed next to my golden clock. Day 275 was your typical kegging Tuesday. I collected ancient fruit in the shed greenhouse, grabbed a bunch of oak resin in the desert, crafted as many kegs as humanly possible, and finally finished my quarry keg farm that can produce well over 350 bottles of ancient fruit wine. I purchased a bunch of wheat seeds over at Pierre's and got them planted to make sure my sprinklers water the area on the first day of fall. And to finish the day off, I crafted a couple of mini obelisks to make days like today more time efficient. I spent the morning of day 276 relocating my workbench area east of the fish ponds right behind the farmhouse. Pro tip, if you place some grass starter then chuck an iron fence on top of it, the grass will still spread, and this original piece can't be eaten by animals. Over at Jody's house, I finished the day off by placing a strange bun in Vincent's toy box and got the 𝐕𝐲𝗵𝗲𝗏 statue. A final round of melons are ready to harvest on day 277, and then it's off to the beach, where I utilized some challenge bait to catch all the tilapia needed to complete Demetrius' special request. I purchased some more wheat seeds at Pierre's, went over to Robin's to purchase a couple more house expansions, and then got hers to start working on the slime hutch. Yet another ostrich hatched this afternoon, and I named him Big Bird, before finishing the day off by planting those wheat seeds and beginning down the long road of decorating the farmhouse, starting with this wizard lair. The morning of a rainy day 278 was spent pathing out a section of the farm where the winery is going to be built, before going to Calico Desert. I chopped down a whole bunch of trees and spent the remainder of the day in Skull Cavern, killing mobs and mining ore. It looks like Robin completed my slime hutch as Marlin woke me up on day 279 to tell me all about his misfortunes with slime ranching. That morning, I got 20 more kegs crafted at the workbench, got the interior of the slime ranch set up, then ran down to the raccoon house to see what the next bundle has in store for me. The rusty spoon was easy to get with all these artifact troves I've been collecting, and the trash is really prevalent down at floor 100 in the mines. With those items in tow, I got the bundle completed, before taking some deck mayonnaise to Gus's saloon to unveil the Pinky Lemon statue. The last thing I did today was retrofit the attic to be a cozy little reading nook. Day 280, the last day of summer of year 3, begins by harvesting a final crop of blueberries, then running up to Robin's to spend 1 million G, 50 kegs, 30 iridium bars, and 200 hardwood on the winery. Shout out to JR Smith the Goat in my YouTube comments for letting me know that the hatch to get to the wizard's basement is here, and I can use it in combination with the Faraway Stone to open a portal and receive the legendary 𝐕𝐢𝐝𝐲 sword, courtesy of a cute cat. Back on the farm, I used the forge to change the appearance of my monster splitter to resemble Penny's Friar. I then went over to Ginger Island to exchange 20 radioactive bars for 2 galaxy souls from the island trader, and grabbed another from Key's Walnut Room, before heading back to Pelican Town to enjoy the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies with all my best friends. I kicked off day 281, the first day of autumn, by clearing out all the dead summer stalks, buying up 432 various fall seeds at Pierre's, and getting them all planted surrounding my pressure nozzle enhanced iridium sprinklers. And then this finally happened. Come on, island ingredients! Let's go! Come on! Let's go! It's about damn time! As you can tell by my reaction, I was pretty ecstatic to get the island ingredients request accepted. So I hightailed it to Ginger Island, where I essentially lived for the next couple days, foraging for ginger, killing every tiger slime I could find, and doing volcano dungeon runs, just trying to squeeze every last second of farming ginger to complete this quest. Even on day 282, which was an ancient fruit harvesting and kegging day, I still found the time to dig up some ginger and utilize the galaxy souls to create the Infinity Blade, which of course gets a little transmog to look like the 𝐕𝐢𝐝𝐲. Over at the slime hutch, my little gelatinous buddies are happy to get some new friends before I ran over to the quarry to collect and keg some ancient fruit wine to end the day. The next couple days are pretty quick. Day 283 was spent collecting ginger at the dig site, mining out a couple of cinder shards while doing a volcano dungeon run, and attaching some rubies to my Infinity 𝐕𝐢𝐝𝐲. Day 284 is also entirely committed to Ginger Island activities. I did some more ginger harvesting, tiger slime slaying in the volcano dungeon, where I found the phoenix ring in one of these rare treasure chests, and finished the day off by successfully enchanting a crusader, Infinity Meowmere. Days 285 and 86 are essentially identical. I started both days by making some monster musk, then running over to Ginger Island to till up any obvious ginger. I then utilized my monster musk and did complete volcano dungeon runs, making sure to open up any treasure chest and kill every single tiger slime I could find. The only difference between the days is that Claire asked me if I wanted to have a second child the evening of day 286, which is a resounding yes. The morning of day 287, I found the 100th ginger I needed. I did myself a little dance and dug it up to complete the request, then ran back to Pelican Town to utilize some fairy dust and create some wild plum jelly to complete yet another raccoon bundle. That evening was spent chopping down trees in the deep Cindersap forest so that I could create a ludicrous amount of kegs that all got populated in my newly completed winery. The morning of day 288, I got 2 amazing letters. The first was an invite to the premiere of Claire's movie, and the second contained the blueprints to the solar panel, the final recipe I needed to create to get the Craft Master achievement. I harvested a fresh crop of cranberries, then spent the entire day in the Skull Caverns, utilizing my Crusader Infinity Meowmere to easily dispatch these mummies and reveal a Galaxy Soul to boot. Day 289 is yet another Tuesday, so I start the day at Ginger Island collecting ancient fruit. I warped over to Calico Desert to empty out all the oak tree tappers, and then kegged all the fruit in the winery. That evening was spent watching my wife make her silver screen debut and enjoying as the townspeople raved over her incandescent talent. Unfortunately for me, day 290 is not the day I got the golden goose egg, but it is the day I was able to purchase the return scepter from Krobus for 2 million G. While I was splashing the cash, I bought the furniture catalog from Robin and the regular catalog from Pierre, and did some house decorations. Side note, this won't be the final location of my bedroom, I just spent way too much time making it to not show you. I decided on day 291 to remove this giant patch of cranberries and run over to Magnus's tower and purchase a Junimo hut in its place. The rest of the day was spent doing a Skull Caverns run, where this large slime on floor 22 dropped 2 Galaxy Souls, and this serpent on floor 42 dropped another one. The morning of day 292, I did my first round of slime zit popping, then stopped by the winery to finish filling up the building with kegs. Since I got those 3 Galaxy Souls yesterday, the game was just begging me to buy the Galaxy Dagger from Gil and create the Infinity Dagger at the Farm Forge. I spent the evening running around the farm, throwing torches on fences, and put a cap on the day by decorating the sitting room in the farmhouse. The golden goose egg eludes me once again on day 293, so I take my frustrations out on the trees in the Calico Desert. I grabbed a whole bunch of pumpkin seeds from Pierre's, harvested the blooming fairy seeds on the farm, and got the fresh soil sown with pumpkins before ending the day by adding some finishing touches to the sitting room and wizard lair. My first crop of pumpkins are ready to be scythed down to start day 294, and the raccoons have yet another bundle for me to complete. I got even more pumpkin seeds thrown down, populated some crab pots with deluxe bait to get some snails, and then utilized some magic bait to catch myself the midnight carp. Down at the ocean, I fished up a super cucumber and confirmed the existence of Bigfoot near the library before exchanging the super cucumber for the HMTGF statue just north of the community center. I kicked off day 295 by getting another round of bait thrown into the crab pots, then ran over to the goose coop where the golden goose egg finally graced my presence. Let's go! As you can tell, I was very excited. I got that golden little morsel chucked into the shipping bin and finished the day off by decorating my kitchen/dining room. Thanks to that golden goose egg, I woke up on day 296 with the full shipment achievement, marking confirmation I've sold all 204 items and filling up the shipping tab. Another Tuesday means another morning spent harvesting ancient fruit and getting them all shoved into kegs, which I had to do very quickly because today is the annual Stardew Harvest Festival. So I got the rarest items I've collected put on display and took home the first place prize once again. This year, I successfully gambled my way all the way up to the max of 9,999 stars and picked up the second furniture catalog to end the day. The morning of day 297, I got the message from the heavens that Grandpa is extra special proud of my achievements, followed by the distant rumblings of the non-existent boulder being removed from the summit. But before I go back up there, there's a couple more things I want to do, starting with finishing another raccoon bundle. Up at Robin's, I happily donated the money and wood to get Pam and Penny a house. picked up the Statue of Perfection underneath the farm waterfall, then ran over to Key's walnut room to grab the Statue of True Perfection and confirm I got 100% on the Perfection tracker. I finished the day off by placing those statues down and officially completing my 100% shrine. The morning of day 298, I harvested some ripe cranberries and utilized some magic bait to catch a walleye that was requested by this trash bear near the sewer grate. After devouring the fish, he requested a wild plum, which was easy enough to get, but this bear seems to be insatiable. Now he wants a radish salad, so I went home and grabbed one from the fridge, but apparently just one's not enough, he needs another one. So I warped over to a rainy ginger island to get a radish planted with some hyper speed grow, before finishing the day by creating a bathroom in my farmhouse. Since the bathroom is on the northeast side of the house, I moved my bedroom over to start day 299. I spent the entirety of this day decorating, starting with this little hangout / camping spot outside next to the winery. I then went inside to create this jam / gaming nook where the bedroom was previously and tucked myself into bed, where Claire gave birth to our second child, a boy named Zach that got me the full house achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally made it to day 300, and I begin the day by putting a space helmet on Blair and a red fez on Brownie the horse. Robin finally finished the house for Pam and Penny, so I watched the joy on their faces as they received the gift, then ran up to Robin's to get her started on the shortcut community upgrade. That afternoon, I did some more decorating by creating a nice relaxing fish tank area, then finished the house by making this cool little sewing section just off the bedroom. With all that stuff done, it was finally time to make my way up to the summit, where I collected the Perfection achievement and joined Claire as we breathed in the cool, crisp autumn air at the end of a perfect day 300. With all that being said though, I still have a couple things I need to do to 100% the game, so I think it's the perfect time for an epilogue. The epilogue picks up right where I left off on day 300. I made my way to Marnie's ranch and purchased the pet license for the purple-shelled turtle named Chortle, a golden chicken egg, and another license for a dog that I named Skip. On day 301, I did a bit of decoration in this small portion of the farm to look like a little sleeping Junimo location. And then on day 303, I crafted the second radish salad for the trash bear to consume. He was so happy with the meals that he cleaned up the trash near the ocean and gave Dusty a nice, delicious steak. On day 304, the raccoon had a bundle requiring snow yam juice and pickled winter root, so I utilized some fairy dust in the kegs and the preserves jar to create those two items and complete the bundle. The other thing that happened today was this. Let's go! Let's go! Woohoo! We did it, boys! 50,000! 50,000! I'm gonna pause, let's go! 50,000! Huge! I don't even know what I'm doing! I don't give a f***! 51,000, baby! Look at it! Look at it! F*** you, Lewis! F*** you, Junimo Cart! Holy sh**! I don't care. I know some people got 500,000 in this game. I don't give a f***. F*** this game. Listen, Concerned Ape, you made a brilliant game in Stardew Valley. Absolutely fantastic. 10 out of 10. But f*** you on this one. This game is f***ing hell. Woo! So yeah, I got the high score on the endless mode in Junimo Kart. Something I couldn't say I 100%ed the game without completing, given how much of a headache it gave me earlier. On day 308, I cleared out the community garden location so the various townfolk didn't have to look at the ugly debris anymore. And then on day 309, my large shed was finished by Robin, which I decided that this would become a green tea house. So I populated it with a whole bunch of gardening pots. On day 311, I purchased a couple of watering bowls for Chortle and Skip, before checking on the raccoons who have another bundle for me. I got the crystal fruits dehydrated and the cactus fruit jellied with the help of some fairy dust, and donated the items to the raccoons to finish the bundle. To finish the day off, I purchased and placed down a couple more dog houses for Chortle and Skip to sleep in if they feel so inclined. On day 317, my ancient fruit wine I started aging all the way back on day 269 was finally at iridium quality, so I officially utilized my basement and the casks. On day 318, I got the Good Neighbors achievement, signaling that the raccoon family is at full capacity, and I have officially collected every in-game achievement. And to finish off this 100% playthrough on day 319, I ran over to Marty's to get the Cheese Mastery buff, before making my way up to Susan's to grab the Crafting Mastery buff, filling out the Special Items and Powers tab. Thank you so much for watching my video. Whether you're asleep or awake right now, I want you to know I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my stuff. Playing and editing this series is so much fun, and if you're still on the fence about downloading Stardew Expanded, you really should give it a try. I often wish I could reset my brain to a point where I haven't played Stardew Valley, and playing Stardew Expanded honestly gave me as close to that feeling as I think is possible. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed to the channel and enabled notifications, well, I'm gonna ask you again. I'm also going to ask that you hit the like button so that I can do a mega modded 100% playthrough of Stardew Valley, because that just sounds like a lot of fun to me. If you want to get more involved with my community, you should follow me on Blue Sky and Twitch, both of which will be linked in the description, along with a link to my personal Discord server. There's over 500 gamers and gamettes in there, and they are the most welcoming, understanding group of humans that I'm sure would love to meet you. And with all that being said, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.